Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Spaced Out Radio Tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us as the beard is starting to grow on back, which I'm pretty happy with. Our guest tonight, Phill Webster. Good morning to him in London. He has a nice beard, good with consciousness. We're going to get into it all tonight with him. And Dirty Filth will be here in a little bit to draw some cartoons as well. Let's say hello to each and every one of you. Thank you for coming on in. Race fan in the gold medal position. Michael Morris with the silver. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Dino Bravo fan. Chris 716. Jimmy Gonzalez. Karen in the Woo Train. Nice to see you. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Robert Lamoth and Lightwalkers. Great to have you back. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. And Jeff will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Lee the Bee and Mama Catherine. Mwah. Good evening to you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful night. Laura Lobbs, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call, Sandra Kincaid, good to have you here. And who else do we have? Number 26 in your program, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Gizmo, how are you, my man? As we continue on with our roll call tonight, Kathleen Hughes, Eternity Eternal, Desert Rat, thank you all for coming on in as we scroll on down and say hi to Flat 6, Millennium, my man, Kathleen Hughes, good to see you all. Kathleen Hughes will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Continuing on, W. David Page, Pixie Lara, how's your purple hair? Pam Harris, thank you for coming on in. Destiny Rocks, American, how are you? Mike Arrington, thank you for joining us. Hi, Carla and Noble Patrick. Kurt M., good to see you. Christine Lynn, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call tonight. And there's Digger Dog and Ukrainian Anita. And who else is here? Major Lee, he's a good UK guy. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. And who else do we have? My man Pix, good to see you. Thank you for coming on in. Vanessa, thank you for joining us. And Gizmo, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. And who else do we have? Phil the Stalker, good to see you. And who else is joining us? T2E, you're early. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on in. All right, who's on Facebook hiding here? Let's take a little peeky poo here. Hold on, I got to load up Facebook. And who do we have? Well, it's John Marks. Good to see you, John. Thanks for coming on in. And Buckethead, how's our soothsayer tonight? Okay, keeping up here, Thomas Rock. Good to see you, Vanessa. And Bobbert. Bobbert has returned. Unknown Crypted, welcome to SOR Chat. And how did my sleep test go? Well, I can tell you, I was breathing better today. I was breathing better today. I'm pretty happy about it. So I don't know if it went very well, if I did it right, but Lord knows I can actually breathe out of my nose right now. JSCO, T2E, again. Skip to Malou, how are you? Rayfin, nice to see you. And who else do we have? I don't know. Let's get the radio side going here. And at this time, we say hello to everyone on the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, our guest, Phill Webster, as we are going to get deep into the consciousness realm and intuitiveness. Oh, it's going to be a fun night. As there's Bill WD-40 now lubing us up for tonight's show. We appreciate you, Bill. And so thank you for coming on in and making our show go nice and smooth, because you always want to go in nice and smooth into a show. I'm sure Human Carl will be there any moment. And who else has snuck in here? Let's take a look. All right. Nobody. I'm sure there will be more coming. Remember that the super chat is open as well. Hi, Nikki Williams. How are you? Beautiful. Dirty Filth in the chat room. How are you? And remember, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So get dressed today. As for all of you, do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of fun tonight as we learn about consciousness, intuition, and spiritual healing. Much more. Phill Webster joins us from London, England, his morning, our evening, and we're going to have a great show with him tonight. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton is here from Among the Missing. Travis Moostus will have the Crypted report following Steve. Phill Webster is a writer, actor, and spiritual teacher. After losing his mother in 2021, he realized that he had been dismissing spiritual calls to action his entire life. One particular incident that he writes about in his debut book, Letting Go, spurred this call to action above all others. He has since trained with Indigenous Shamans from North and South America, as well as renowned spiritual mediums from across the globe. Phill has also studied female spirituality in the Middle Ages at the University of Barcelona and is a trained meditation teacher as well as personal trainer. His book, Letting Go, his first book, and his second, Glowing Deeper, are profoundly personal accounts of grief. Through the learning to connect with our intuition, he invites his readers to join him on the journey of exploring our connection with our higher consciousness. Yes, we are going to get into some serious Zen and Chi tonight. I can feel it. Phill Webster, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. We always have, for the most of us, have this profound experience that leads us down this road to find out, is there more to life out there? And it sounds like you were pretty affected by the passing of your mom, and that kind of kicked things off for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was something that happened the night before she passed away. I guess I'll tell you about that story and then sort of backtrack and go into some other stuff.
Sure.
So we'd been through 2020. Nobody needs to hear anything more about that. So yeah, like I'm based in London. I'd lived abroad for a long time. I came back to the UK 2017. I grew up in a small place called the Isle of Wight, which is at the south of England. And that's where my mom lived. And she lived there, since I was 20 or something like that, alone. So back in London, everything was good. 2020 came along. And I tried to do what I thought was the right thing. I kept away. I listened to everything the government was saying about keeping away and lockdowns and all the rest of it. In hindsight, I kind of, wish I'd have, not taken much notice. But anyway, we did all that, went through 2020. She was there. She was in her mid-70s. She kind of got increasingly lonely. She was isolating, all that stuff. And I would see her every few months when restrictions were lifted and all that. Anyway, I hadn't seen her since around October, and she was supposed to come to London for Christmas of that year. And then again, government did a U-turn right at the last minute and, suggested strongly that we shouldn't do that. And it kind of freaked her out. So she ended up not coming to London for Christmas. So it'd been a while since I've seen her. Anyway, we'd FaceTime every day. And on this particular day, and this was around mid-January, I called her one evening, and it was probably the third call that day. And as she picked the phone up, I saw a man standing beside her, and I saw him long enough that I could describe him. He had like thinning gray hair, glasses. He was probably late 60s, something like that. And I was kind of taken aback, it was quite late at night. I knew everybody in her immediate surroundings. We didn't have any other family there. It's a very rural place. So, there shouldn't have been anyone there. And on top of that, we were in another lockdown. And I was kind of like, okay, well, who the hell is this guy, at 10 o'clock at night? And as she kind of moved, he went out of shot. And I said, well, who's that? And she said, who's what? And I was like, okay, well, I just saw someone, I said, who's the guy? And she said, no, there's no one here, and started telling me about her day and sat down. And again, it kind of threw me off. And, I'd just seen this guy, and I could always tell when someone was with her, because she'd always put on like airs and graces and speak a lot more politely. And, it used to drive me nuts. You couldn't like have a straight conversation with her if there was someone in the room with her. But she wasn't doing any of that. And she sort of kept talking, and I interrupted her again. And I said, all right, Mum. I said, I don't mean to pry, but I was like, I just saw someone, And again, she just dismissed it. She was like, no, there's no one here. So I thought, okay, well, I guess I must have been mistaken. And we talked for like another 45 minutes to an hour or so. I went to bed that night. And then the next morning, I got the phone call that she'd passed away. So for all of the stuff that comes with grief, I'm sure some of your viewers and listeners have been through this. And when you lose a parent, it's like stepping into an alternate universe. This person that was always there, they're suddenly not there. So dealing with all of that comes with it, my mind kept going back to this guy. And I would tell people about it, and of course, the more sort of skeptical people or logical thinking people would say to me, well, you're grieving. This is some sort of weird thing that you're going. And I was like, well, I wasn't grieving at the time. It was before the fact. And of course, I can't say absolutely 100% that there wasn't anyone there. I wasn't there, but knowing her daily routine, knowing how she was, speaking every day, all the people that went there or who didn't go there, I pretty much came to the conclusion that she was alone. And of course, those people that were kind of more on the other side of the fence were saying to me, well, obviously that was some sort of spirit guide, letting you know that your mum was about to pass. That was kind of the conclusion that I came to. Yeah.
Do you think you were actually seeing or viewing the angel of death?
I don't know who he was at the end of the day. I didn't really get much comfort from it. He didn't look like a family member. He didn't look like an uncle or something like that. Or, even my dad, who I hadn't seen 20 years. I don't know what happened to him. So I just didn't really know what to do with it. I was working at the time. I'd been working sporadically as an actor. And I 2 days later, I was scheduled to work on this big Marvel movie, this Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And that would have been partly why I've been keeping away as well, because if you caught COVID, then they would just kick you straight off these things, and it was a good 4 months of work that I was looking forward to. So I pretty much just got on with that. I was like, well, it's going to keep me busy and distracted and all that kind of stuff. But I would speak to people. Well, it probably took me about a month before I kind of even started speaking to anyone on set. I was just, so wrapped up in grief. And people started saying, well, have you asked for a sign? And I was like, well, no, I haven't. Anyway, I started asking for signs, and they started coming. But yeah, as for who he was, I still don't know. Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason why I asked that right off the bat. When my journey into this field began on December 13th, 2011. My mom has been very ill. And that night, it was a couple weeks before Christmas, and I actually saw the angel of death in her eyes.
Okay.
And I ended up not knowing any of this, what any of this
Yeah.
woo spiritual stuff was all about.
Yeah.
Okay, I ended up actually channeling the angel of death 2 hours later, and he told me how to keep my mom alive. And I had my
Okay.
mom, and my mom stayed alive until June 7th of this past year when she turned 80.
All right. All right.
So I could feel a conscious connection here with you,
Yeah.
no pun intended to what we're
No, no,
talking
no.
about. But it is a powerful message, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't. I sort of dabbled looking into this stuff when I was younger. And another thing that I guess we'll get to, but this experience made me sort of reevaluate other things that had happened in the past. So it would seem that every few years, something would be kind of tapping me on the shoulder, and I would dismiss it. I think through my 30s, I kind of developed a very sort of cynical attitude towards life in general, and I wasn't really interested in any of the stuff. I thought, well, you live, you die, that's it, we're done. But I think at my core belief, I always, if I was to really dig down, I'd probably always believed in life after death. But yeah, that's an interesting parallel. That's an interesting parallel. I didn't know your story there.
Yeah, I mean, we all get started somewhere, but the powerful part about this is how it changed your life and put you in a completely new direction. Because what did you find inside yourself that you were missing at that time?
Well, I'd never found that thing that other people seem to find. That I never grew up thinking, okay, I want to be a fireman or a chef or any of that kind of stuff. For a start, I couldn't get excited about a career where I'm just making money for something that I'm not particularly interested in. I did a bunch of jobs. I ended up living abroad for a long time and settling in Helsinki in Finland, where I ran bars and clubs for a long time. And that was kind of around the time that I sort of developed this kind of cynical attitude, that I mentioned. You sort of see people at their worst. People are drinking all the time. You're sleeping all day, turning night into day. And you start thinking that's normal when it's not normal. You're like living on the fringes of society, and around that time I sort of became very sort of self-involved and wasn't really concerned of anything else outside of my own little sort of stratosphere. But yeah, that event and a couple of others really just really sort of opened me up and sent my life down a completely different trajectory. I'd been working sporadically as an actor, as I've mentioned, since coming back to the UK in 2017. But yeah, again, I'd never really sort of found what I thought, not to be too grandiose, but kind of my purpose. And since jumping into all this, writing a couple of books and being able to talk about these things related to the books, I feel like, okay, this was supposed to be what I was going to do all along, yeah, now I finally feel sort of everything's clicked into place. And in a strange sense, it's almost kind of like a parting gift from my mom. I wouldn't have wrote these books if she was still here. Yeah.
Right. I mean, the fact that you were able to find your spiritual path, what changed inside of you? What really became your new mantra?
I think really that her passing was really the catalyst for it all. There'd been a couple of other things that had happened previous to that. I'd gone through a very powerful, what I didn't recognize as a spiritual awakening a few years before, but I didn't look at it as that at the time until kind of looking back on these things again. It's like, oh, okay, it seems like this was always on the horizon somewhere. Something would show up to sort of make me at some point at its most profound question reality. But I wouldn't put that in any sort of spiritual category. I just kind of thought, okay, well, that happened. That was weird. I don't know what that was, but I'm just happy to move on and keep sort of chugging along with, like the sort of day-to-day grind. And again, like looking back at these things, it seemed that this was, and again, I hate to use words like destiny and stuff like that. And I must admit, I'm the first person to sort of be skeptical about this stuff. But now everything sort of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can see where you found your focus. You
Yeah.
found your niche. And how much easier was that for you to feel liberated, not only as a person but spiritually?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has. Now everything's kind of fallen into place, and I have these conversations. And it's kind of funny. I was just thinking, like last night, how sort of openly I talk about this now. But again, I'm sort of the first person to be skeptical about anybody else's journey. Like straight away, I'm kind of like, really? Did you, you know? But at the same time, you know, I'm sort of telling some of these wild stories. In particular, the next one I'll tell you about, which I believe was this kind of awakening, it was a really strong one. Prior to that, there'd always been something, even through childhood, there'd be some sort of paranormal stuff going on around the house, that I would look back on as an adult and think, well, I don't know about that. You know, maybe it was just my imagination, or, you know, wishful thinking or something like that. But again, looking at it through a different lens, as I have these last few years, it makes more sense to lean this way than the other way.
Yeah, no kidding. How did you stay positive? How did you find that positivity? Because a lot of times when you lose your hero, your mom, your dad,
Yeah.
your mentor, your best friend, whatever it may be, most of us go through a depression that just is hard to fathom what it's like on the other side. Yet for you, you were able to find strength in those hard times.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started getting reassurance that this is a thing that we go on. I initially I started looking at the kind of standard spiritual literature that I'd touched on here and there throughout my life when I was on this movie set. And there's a point to tell you about this movie set, which I'll get to as well later. But I started reading things like Neil Donald Walsh and you know, the sort of generic kind of spiritual helpful stuff that kind of stuck at the back of my mind, which did help a lot. And then I came across a book on mediumship by a medium called Claire Broad. So there's a little story about that, and I'll kind of circle back to what you were asking. But this book, I didn't know where the author was from, where Claire was from. She could have been from the States or the UK or whatever. And just the title of the book caught my attention. It was called "What the Dead Are Dying to Teach Us." And the first page of the book, what I found kind of interesting or coincidental at the time, took place, like her first story that she opened with when she had her first kind of mediumistic experience. It took place across the street from where I was living in London. So I could literally look out the window and see this cemetery where the book opened. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird, right? You know, out of all the books in the world that I could have read, I could look out the window and see exactly what she was talking about, this cemetery across the road. But yeah, essentially what really kept me positive was learning about mediumship, starting to have these amazing experiences. And really kind of that's where the sort of play on grief comes from, with the first title of the first book, Letting Glow, is I started learning about all these amazing things that sort of came out of this, you know. And so it was just really these experiences and all that I was learning about that really helped me. I wouldn't like to say fast track through grief, because I mean I really felt it. But it definitely helped. It definitely helped.
We have about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Phill Webster is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Phill, your own consciousness that you have developed over a short time, what did you believe in all of this prior to going off and finding your own journey?
Yeah, so I sort of come and gone, you know. I think I've been through a few different incarnations. Again, I always felt like there was something more to all of this, but through life circumstances, like I say, at one point, I kind of tried to just, you know, I developed a very sort of cynical attitude towards life. Wasn't the greatest person. I wasn't horrific, but I was kind of very self-involved, especially around my mid-30s, and started making excuses for, you know, why my life wasn't really going in the direction that I really wanted it to, and just sort of putting everything down to, well, you know, this is all kind of a, you know, not the best experience, and we live, we die, and people are whatever, and you know, and sort of, you know, stuck with that attitude for a few years. So when it came to this, although things were going pretty well at this point, in terms of acting, and I was happy to be back in London and all that kind of stuff after being away from my home country for such a long time, I still wasn't really that the whole spiritualism thing didn't really sort of serve me in any way. It was kind of like, well, that's sort of interesting, but it doesn't really, touch me. And again, just to go back to your other point, when we lose a parent, we really lose the one true witness to our lives. And it's really like stepping into an alternate reality where you'd had this kind of person to turn to. We all would call them. I mean, of course, people have different experience, different relationships with their parents. It's not strictly across the board, but generally, it's such a shock, and I thought I was prepared for it, and I wasn't. My mum was 76 years old, so I kind of knew it was on the horizon, but it came very quickly out of the blue, and it really just sort of blindsided me.
Yeah. I mean, 76. That's still so young.
Yeah.
Was your mom or your father a spiritualist type person? Did they have religious beliefs? Did they have their own spiritual awakenings?
No, not at all. We didn't really talk about it, to be honest. I wish we had done. So yeah, my dad I hadn't seen since I was about 18, so kind of no real idea about what his beliefs were. But yeah, my mom, she did tell me that when she gave birth to me, she'd had like a near-death experience, essentially, and described the whole traditional going down a tunnel, seeing her own mom, all that kind of thing. And I found it sort of interesting, but I didn't really know where else to go with that. I was like, well, okay, sounds interesting. It sounds kind of cool, but and of course it's from my mom, so I wouldn't doubt her. She wouldn't normally talk about stuff like that, but yeah, as for our core beliefs, we never really touched on it. Yeah.
Really? Okay. I mean, that reminds me, because like my dad is my best friend, and my dad, he'll be 75 in May, and he's one of those five senses guys where I know he's had weird stuff happen, but he'll never admit to it being of the weird stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He'll just be like, "Oh, that's kind of odd," but
Yeah.
that's pretty much as excited as he gets on everything. As your own experiences started to open up and you started to open up more, who did you rely on, as we got about 2 minutes to go here? Who did you rely on to know that what you were seeing was real and not just fantasy?
There wasn't really any one person. Claire Broad, the lady whose book I read that I mentioned, she became a mentor, and then a friend, and she's still, I consider, one of my teachers today. So just the people in this community is, again, I would be the first person to be skeptical about this stuff. I definitely was the first time I walked into a spiritualist church, but just seeing the reaction that were from people that mediums would work with, and then evidence that they were giving me too, and then later on beginning to work or to learn about mediumship myself and open up into those ways. It's just amazing stuff. I'm like, okay, this is real, this thing. I know that what I just told that person, I know that I didn't know that previously, or that it's not from me, and starting to recognize that, yeah, is kind of amazing. Yeah.
Have you ever had trouble with it, trouble accepting it?
I'll be the first person to sort of question it, and even myself. But then when these things do come through, and I've given people evidence, I've got to a point now where, I mean, I'm still very much at the start of this journey, I would say, but I got to a point now where I recognize the difference between what's me and what I'm making up, or what could be my thoughts, and something that's coming from somewhere else that someone who's sitting in front of me is verifying. So yeah, I'm pretty much on. Well, I've wrote 2 books about it now, but I'm on board with it. Yeah.
Hey, it's the path you've now chosen, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
And you know what? When we all find that path, it as confusing as it is, there's comfort that comes along with it. And we're going to get into that and more, and some of your stories that you have, as we get ready to say that we're going to take a break right here on Spaced Out Radio. At the bottom of the hour, our guest, Phill Webster. We're going to get into the consciousness and his new book, Glowing Deeper, when we return. How do we build our consciousness? Who do we trust? How do we know that our intuition is correct? We're going to get deep into it with Phill Webster coming up here next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. We will be right back. All right, we are clear, my man.
All right.
Yeah, Dirty Phil, how you doing, buddy?
I turned the microphone back on.
I know. What are you drawing
It's a
tonight?
habitual problem.
Let's see.
But it cuts down on the swearing.
Yes, it does. Fan question of the night. Where's Blob?
I think we may be due for a blob sighting in the near future.
Oh, yeah? We're excited. So where are you taking us on a journey tonight? Looks like aliens, UFOs, and something else.
We're going back to 1972.
Oh.
That's all I
Very
can tell you about that so far.
I'm looking forward to it, my man. Thank you.
Special forces.
Even better. The audience is starting to chant Blob, so you might want to let Blob know.
I think we can do that, but you know, the Royal Rumble's a fixed number, so should be in when she can.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, Pixie Lara is calling a 70% chance of blobbage. Our resident catologist, Pixie Lara.
Is that metric or imperial percentage?
She's probably an imperial still because, she is American.
Weird.
I'm trying to figure out the conversion of that now. Having fun, Phil? Enjoying yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just I wish I was, a bit more coherent than I am. I had about 2 hours sleep and it's just like eerily silent around here, but I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Any type of Austin Powers type of party last night or what?
No, nothing like that. Just anytime I've got to get up, early, I'll kind of overthink it and can't sleep. So that's it.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
You should play some Venom super loud.
Or some Buckethead. Although I am more of an Avatar guy. They're good. We like our metal around here.
I'm kind of like of the terrible cheesy rock kind of lean towards that.
Are you still running with Dixie's Midnight Runner? Come on, Eileen. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't go there, but anything sort of late 80s, early 90s, like all that, rock music that everybody hated. I'm kind of into that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have to be. Hair metal? Of course.
Yeah, pretty much.
Of course.
What about Yanni and Evangelist?
Hey, do not be insulting Yanni. I like Yanni.
Oh, hold on a second here, Dave. Yanni and Evangelist, that's Dirty Phil's like super secret flavored musicians he loves.
You know what? I've seen Yanni twice in concert, Phil.
Ooh, only once for me.
Yeah.
Kind of jealous now, Dave.
Yeah, his song Aria, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorites. One of my top 10 songs.
Wow.
You're blown away by that right now.
Yeah, we're talking heavy metal. Now we're talking about Yanni and
man,
great percussion solos on his tours.
Phil here, my son, about 4 months ago, my son is 10. A buddy of mine calls me up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing with your boy?" I said, "Well, I'm working." He goes, "Why don't you bring your son down to Vancouver? I got free Iron Maiden tickets for him."
Oh, nice.
So my 10-year-old got introduced to Eddie that night.
Excellent.
And he's been a Maiden fan ever since. Yeah, kid within 10 days goes to Iron Maiden and Guns N' Roses.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah. You got to influence them right. So I would like to. I'm really hoping AC/DC announces a tour this year.
That was like They were like the first few bands I saw, like 91. I got quite lucky around that era. Saw Metallica on the Black Album and Iron
Yeah.
Maiden and yeah, AC/DC, all that stuff. Yeah, it was
On
good.
the Razor's Edge tour. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, 91. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
saw that one.
Donington. Okay.
Saw that tour. Hold on right there. We're going to come back here in about 10
Let's have the
seconds.
Royal Rumble.
Thank you to Gizmo, Doof, and Jennifer for the super chats. And here we go, everybody. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in wherever you are. Want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with our guest tonight, Phill Webster. He's got a brand new book out called Glowing Deeper. We're going to learn about that here in consciousness and so much more. Phill, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Dave. Yes, pleasure to be here.
Tell us about your glowing books.
So yeah, the first book really was just essentially documenting my journey through learning about mediumship, and then it sort of got very autobiographical. I spoke about my own life, but as it sort of pertained to these strange experiences that would pop up every few years. So as well as sort of documenting my journey through mediumship, also really poured my grief into it. I started writing it like a few months after my mum had passed. And I sort of wrote it in real time as I learned these things that I learned along the way. But yeah, I went back and looked back over some other events that had happened, like astral projection as a teenager and what I think was a very powerful awakening in my 30s, and just kind of document all these journeys. And I think just to go back to the spiritual awakening thing, although it sounds a pretty woo-woo term, I feel that lots of people go through it, and it can be a really scary experience. At least it was for me.
Well, why did you think it was scary or uncomfortable?
With the awakening experience?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I just kind of went through something that, I mean, I didn't realize it was that at the time until somebody kind of pointed it out. But I could tell you about that story if you want.
Please, we got lots of time.
Sure. Yeah. So mid-30s, again, I was running bars and clubs in Helsinki. Wasn't in the best of headspace, although I didn't kind of realize it at the time. And I was pretty much just living to sort of have fun. I probably should have got this out of my system a little bit earlier, but I guess I was a late bloomer. And it was, I thought it was a fun environment to be in, but in hindsight, it wasn't really. Again, you sleep all day, work till 5 a.m, sort of be surrounded by people that were living that lifestyle. And it's probably not the healthiest environment to be in. Anyway, I woke up one summer's morning, mid-30s. I wasn't hungover or anything like that. There was no drugs involved or anything, just to sort of get that cleared up before I go into what happened. And I remember waking up and then just having this thought, and it wasn't like a new thought. It was something I'd considered before, and I'm sure most of us have, that think perhaps a little deeper. But I was thinking about how time is essentially non-linear, right? That all we really have is the moment of now. Like we sort of construct it as though it's linear, and we have our stories of the past and our memories of the past, and then our ideas or hopes for the future. But essentially all we really experience is this moment right now, and that's all it ever has been. And I remember sort of laying there thinking, well, this is kind of, I was thinking, where's this moment gone? It's like, it's here right now. I know it was just here. I can remember it. But where is it physically, right? It was just here, like that moment then, and now it's gone. I know it sounds like kind of stoner talk or something that I was having with myself, but something shifted in thinking about this, and it was extremely profound. And I sort of talk about it lightly now, but it was terrifying. It was as though linear time suddenly fell away, and all of a sudden it was just like now. and then it just didn't stop. It was just like now, 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 and I couldn't switch it off. It was as though a spotlight were being shone on me, or as though I were kind of taken away from myself, and I was over here kind of observing my thoughts, and everything felt like I was just suddenly zinging along to this new frequency, and it was overwhelming. I can't sort of stress how overwhelming it was, and I kind of started freaking out, and I thought, oh well, they sent me into a full-blown panic attack. And I thought, well, I'll walk this off. And I remember walking outside down by the sea and kind of looking ahead down the road, and just again having this, and it's really difficult to explain this with, just with language. But looking down the street thinking, well, I'm going to be there in a moment, but like, where is that moment now? And all of a sudden it just seemed absurd, and I couldn't switch it off. It was just now, 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 all the time. I just couldn't sort of drift off thinking, okay, what am I going to have for dinner later, or what did I do last night, or anything like that. It was just this like ultra awareness of like my space in the world. People talk about living in the moment of now and connecting with the moment of now. It was like that times 1,000. And I started thinking I was going nuts, right? I went to work that night and sort of tried to tell people what was going on, because I just couldn't switch it off. And people were kind of like, okay, cool, looking at me like I was going nuts, which is fair enough. And this thing just didn't stop. I woke up the next day, still going on. Now, now, now. I just couldn't just relax into, drift off into my thoughts or anything like that. And this went on for weeks. And after a couple of weeks, I thought, well, this isn't working for me. I just couldn't function barely, and I think the best way to describe it was like I was hanging on by my fingertips to sort of conventional reality. And I went to a doctor and tried to tell them this story the best way I can. I mean, even trying to talk about it now is kind of impossible to put it into words. And the doctor used words like psychosis, which terrified me. I didn't, think that was going to be on my horizon at any point. And this doctor gave me a bunch of anti-anxiety meds, sleeping pills. And I thought, okay, well, I'll try this out. The sleeping pills would knock me out, but I would wake up the next day and this whole thing would start all over again. The anti-anxiety pills didn't touch it, like not even nothing. A few weeks went by. I went to see another doctor, same diagnosis, psychosis, although he used the word mild psychosis, as I was kind of just about holding down my job and relationship and things like that. But it didn't stop. So a couple of months into this, and this was 24/7, like relentless, whatever this experience was that I was going through, I was just getting to the end of my rope, quite literally. And not to take this down a dark path, but I started thinking, well, if this is the way my brain's working now, then I'm out of here, because I just couldn't. I just felt completely separate from everyone. And it was, I can't emphasize again how terrifying it was. I really thought that I was going out of my mind. And I found a psychiatrist. And what attracted me to this guy was that he was a hypnotist. So I went along and I was kind of explaining what was going on. And I was like, all right, just hypnotize this away. I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't working for me. Just, kind of zap this away and get me back on track, or back to the sort of everyday herd. I want to be worried about my bills this week, or what bus I'm going to catch, or something like that, which would just all seemed absurd to me at the time. And he listened to me and he said, look, you're not going nuts. He said, what you're having is an awakening. And I was like, okay, well, whatever, just make it stop, And then he started using terms like mystic and shamanic sickness and all these things that I'd never really sort of paid attention to before. And I didn't care about it at the time. I just wanted it to stop. And he gave me a very grounding guided meditation. And this was like a few months into this by this point. And the meditation just pretty much instantly brought me back. And it was a very basic meditation, if anyone's ever done one before, just about sort of visualizing a mountain and the story around the mountain. And this kind of essentially told me a story, and I went along with it. And it very quickly brought me back. It didn't last. I had to keep practicing this meditation almost daily. But very gradually, over the next few months, I would have like one good day where I would consider myself kind of back to reality, or back online or offline, depending on how you look at these things. And then it would be 2 good days and 3 good days. And very, very gradually, I sort of came back to, what we all agree on here. But it was a very, very scary experience. I mean, my ego got smashed to pieces. And it changed a lot Although I didn't look at it as this great spiritual awakening thing. I just thought I got very close to the edge and came back and, sort of was just thankful to have my mental health back in check. But a few years on, in hindsight, and a couple of other things that happened, I looked at it from a very different perspective. Yeah.
The way I look at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, a spiritual awakening is a very, very personal concept and happenstance that takes place. And it doesn't happen to everybody. It happens to a lot of people, especially since 2011. We have seen a plethora of people all of a sudden get these awakening type of moments in
Yeah.
their lives. Why do you think it is so singular rather than plural?
Yeah, I wonder. And in fact, I've always I'm writing something now, and I mean, I've gone quite out there now, and I believe that the thing that I'm writing now isn't coming from me. And again, somebody had said this 5 years ago, I would have been one of the first people to think, okay, that guy's like nuts. But again, the way that I'm writing it, I'm pretty certain that I didn't know these things that I'm writing. But just to sort of get back to your point, that's something that's come up, and I feel that if this is a thing, if there's some sort of greater plan, or there's something beyond us, or spirit guides exist and all that kind of stuff, then why don't they just download everybody with this information and just switch things around overnight? But I think it's just more to do with sort of how open we are to this stuff. And I understand that that's kind of where skeptics would say, well, if you're looking for this stuff, then you're going to find it. But I believe that it's just a matter of kind of opening up to it, being on the right frequency. And I think we've all got the capacity or possibility to sort of open up to these things. But mostly we choose not to. We go about our business, we get very distracted with our day-to-day stuff. Bills have to be paid, the mortgage has to be paid, kids have to be taken care of, all that kind of stuff. And we are obviously having this physical experience. But I think that it's possible to kind of step back and tune to these frequencies. And I think when you do, then these events kind of become more common. But yeah, I suppose that doesn't really account for me at the time. I wasn't really interested in this stuff. Didn't have a spiritual bone in my body at the time. But again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And it seems that it's all of these things kind of make sense to me now, although they didn't at the time.
So what was the first part that you really started opening up your eyes? What caught your attention first?
So there was another experience along the way, and again, it's going back to look at things from a different perspective, from the things that have happened since. So a few years after that, see, I talk about these things, and it's like I just sort of jump from one to the other. There were very few and far between. In the middle of these things, I would get back to worrying about paying the rent and all the rest of it. I wasn't walking around like Yoda or something, from these experiences. A few years later, and what's an interesting thing is that this kind of came about in the same way. Maybe early 40s, I woke up one morning, and it always seemed to be waking up in the morning, just when you're in that sort of state between sleep and awake. And I've learned about that since, and it's kind of your brain's in what's called the theta state, which is the state that you go into in meditation, or the state that mediums go into when they're connecting. And these things would always seem to happen then, like that other experience pretty much kicked off then as well. I woke up another morning some years later, and the best way to describe it was I felt like I'd interrupted a process of receiving information from something smarter than myself, way smarter than myself. And the best way I could describe it at the time, I don't know what this sounds like, but was as though I were having like a rainbow stream of information going into the top of my head. And I kind of freaked out, and I thought it was kind of some sort of similar thing that as what had happened before. And whatever it was, I just didn't want any part of it. I was like, kind of, no, and just kind of woke myself up. And as I did, it felt like something was asking me, well, do you still want this? As though I'd agreed to it already. And I was just like, okay, just stop whatever was going on here. And I kind of came to, and an interesting thing that happened immediately afterwards, this thing stopped straight away. And I could see a grid around me, like a holographic grid. And it was kind of an orangey, rusty color between myself and the ceiling. And I didn't freak out or anything. I just kind of looked at it and I thought, well, that's interesting. And I just watched it fade out. And then the whole thing was gone. And I was like, okay, well, that was weird. And I called my fiance, and she wasn't, we were in separate places at the time. And she was like, well, you were dreaming. And I was like, well, it wasn't. I was like, it wasn't a dream. This didn't feel like a dream. Anyway, so then I called a friend of mine, and he was like, well, did you like sleep on your arm funny and you're just kind of seeing traces? And I was like, well, it wasn't that, I said, this was right there. I could see this thing. And a couple of days later, I ended up Googling it and opened this very sort of deep rabbit hole. And the way I Googled it was writing like, rainbow stream of consciousness to the head. I didn't know how to describe this experience. And all these things came up, and it seems to be like a more common experience than you would think. And anyway, again, I kind of went through that, put it behind me. And then all that I've learned since, that seems like a pretty obvious kind of thing to me. I spoke to mediums about that since, and they were like, oh, well, yeah, of course, that's like your crown chakra. That's where you would connect with your guides. I've read about other people having exactly the same experience and then going on to write books that they believe that they channeled and all that kind of stuff. So again, putting all these pieces together in hindsight, seeing that this was kind of always on the horizon at some point. Yeah.
Manifest destiny, almost your own personal destiny, that this was something that you had to do and that you had to accomplish. Did people start to take notice in your change and start asking what was going on?
I try to keep sort of I'm still a very practical person. I wrote these books. I'm not getting rich off them. So I still have to, do bits and pieces to pay the rent. I'm still open to acting work and all that kind of stuff. And my partner, she's essentially an atheist, right? So she keeps me grounded, although it probably doesn't sound like it at the moment. But I think we've got a good balance. And yeah, she doesn't have a spiritual bone in her body. She doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She's been very diplomatic about how she talks about these things since I've lost my mom and wrote these books about it. But yeah, I know that a lot of my friends don't believe in any of this stuff, and I respect that. I wouldn't have believed in this stuff a few years ago either. So I don't feel like I've changed day to day. I can still talk about the football results and just sort of complain about the weather and all that stuff. But yeah, if anyone wants to talk about this stuff, I'm here for it, but yeah, it's a strange kind of walking between these two spaces. It's a bit of an odd place to be.
What other effects did this have on you? Did you end up lucid dreaming? Have you ever had ET contact? Have you ever, gone into other dimensions to talk to your own consciousness?
Yeah, all of the above, I would say. Just sort of looking back when I was a kid, I mentioned that it would seem like there would be sort of paranormal stuff happening around the house. I remember things moving and stuff like that. There was always this lot banging going around in the house when I was kind of 10, 12, 13 years old. There was a lot of stuff going on there. We messed around with a Ouija board when I was mid-teens. And then I remember having this astral projection experience as a teenager. So again, I was kind of maybe always somewhat leaning towards this, but didn't really know what to do with it. I remember as a teenager walking into an esoteric bookshop and picking up this book on lucid dreaming, which I'd experienced. And then as I kind of flipped through it, there was something on astral projection. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool, and I read about it in this bookstore while I was standing there. Didn't have enough money to buy the book at the time. So I just read as much as I could. And this is kind of pre-internet. As it exists today, like early 90s, something like that. So I went home that night and I thought, well, I'll try this out. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. But from the way I understood it, you leave your body and you can go flying around the neighborhood. And I thought, let's give it a go. So I laid there and sort of just concentrated on it for a while, not that long. And this happened relatively easily. I remember achieving this separation and I could feel myself laying on the bed. I could feel myself float above it. But what I wasn't counting on was I suddenly had a third perspective from the side of the room, and I could see myself on the bed and I could see myself above the bed, but it was as though I were sitting beside the bed. And that was just too much to comprehend at the time. And I kind of snapped myself out of it. I was like, hey, well, what the heck was that? And I just sort of tried to put it behind me. It freaked me out. I went into school the next day and I told my friend, and he was like, okay, cool. And that was that. And I sort of I put it behind me until a few years later. I was watching a TV show, and somebody called in. I think there was a psychic on the show, and somebody called in to speak to the psychic. And this man described the same experience. And what really got me was that he talked about this third perspective from the side of the room, which I hadn't read anywhere. As far as I knew, when people talked about astral projection, they just talked about the sort of separation and floating part. But I never heard about this kind of third perspective. And that really sort of resonated with me. I was like, okay, well, I guess that did happen then, you know. But again, didn't really know what to do with it. You know, it was just a weird thing that happened, and I put it behind me. But again, in hindsight, it would seem that every now and again, these things would come up. Yeah.
What kind of ET contact did you have? Was it spiritual? Was it physical?
Well, I do wonder about that experience that I talked about earlier with the you know, supposed download of information. I'm still kind of on the fence with that. I mean, I think we're talking spirit guides, but then I'm not quite sure what spirit guides are. It just seems like a higher intelligence to me that present themselves in a way that resonates with us, you know.
Right.
Everyone and their grandmother's got like a Native American spirit guide, right? That when you go into this kind of arena that I'm in now, but it, you know, why would some, you know, like a housewife in Surrey have a Native American guide? You know, it seems to be such a common thing, and I'm not dismissing anyone else's experiences, but perhaps if that is a higher intelligence, then it's just presenting itself to us with something that resonates with us as a kind of you know, mentor figure or something that's more spiritual than we are. Yeah. So I'm not dismissing. Yeah, just to sort of wrap that up, I'm not dismissing the idea that it could be just something that beyond what we could even comprehend or understand. Yeah.
Come on, just admit you got aliens, man. Admit you got the aliens. Little gray dudes or humans or mantid beings. You got some aliens. Okay.
Perhaps.
We can definitely counsel you on having aliens. You know, and you don't really go wrong with that. Spiritually speaking, you know, as you started to look into your own self-consciousness and find your own true divinity, did you go down any paths like reincarnation or, you know, what is truly out there after this life in order to try and advance your own knowledge?
Yeah, reincarnation isn't something I've really had any sort of direct knowledge of through personally. I mean, maybe it's on the horizon. It does. I mean, it very much rings true with the whole spiritualism thing that I've gone towards. Essentially, the beliefs are that, you know, that we came here with a agenda, and that we kind of keep going back and forth. You know, that we have this blueprint of the soul, and perhaps if you believe in that kind of thing, then I've just kind of awakened to what was my point of coming here in the first place. You know, through all of the sort of trial and error. Sorry, I'm losing track. It's 5 a.m. over 6 a.m. over here.
That's okay. That's good. You're doing absolutely great. You know, just in regards to reincarnation and other parts of it.
Yeah, so you know, that's definitely there. That's definitely part of it. If we're talking about a soul, then I suppose what we typically come to in the structure where I am is that we're all part of the same soul, although we're individuations of the whole, that we're all connected, that there's no such thing as separation. So in that respect, regards reincarnation, then I suppose that's kind of the argument from why everybody, or you know, 30 people, hundreds, thousands of people claim that they're Jim Morrison, you know, or something like that. So, you know, if we are part of the same thing, then maybe we're all just tapping into that experience of the collective.
Phill, we're 1 hour down, 1 hour to go with author, researcher, Phill Webster, testing out his own consciousness, If you have questions and you're in our YouTube chat, make sure you put them in capital letters so we can get them to Phill. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio comes up right after this. Stay tuned. Good, solid first hour there, Phill.
Thanks. Sorry, I felt like I was rambling a little bit.
No, keep rambling, man. We got time to kill. And your knowledge is great. We're going to turn this over to Dirty Filth. How you doing there, bud? Don't forget to turn your microphone on before you start yipping. We got about 5.5 minutes, Phill.
All right.
As we wait for Dirty to turn his mic on.
Would I have time to just go quickly pour myself a coffee?
Yep, you go pour that coffee.
Thank you.
Dirty, would you like a Pepsi free? Still not turning his mic on.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. All yours, buddy.
It's all mine. Don't forget, you can go to filthy.com. That's FYLTHY.com. And maybe the cats are fighting each other. That's why there's clunking in the background. I don't know. Or it could be burglars. Nonetheless, if I'm about to die because of burglars or cats, make sure you scoop yourself a copy of my book. It'll go it'll go to the cats. Actually, the cats are okay. Anyways, I'm rambling here. Just waiting for the paint to dry a little bit. And not sure if my headphones are working, so oh boy. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep rambling and reading the chat here. Push that over there a little bit. Anyways, it looks like a bunch of rambling. Can't see it's going too fast. Anyways, I'm going to start inking this sucker. Start with the old. 1 second. Get red here, boys. Nope, that's not my hose. All right, we're going to start this up here. Sounds like a Sasquatch just barreling through someone's house. Oh, crap, get in the zone here. Sorry, I should be rambling away. Anyways, here's how I draw my cartoons. I put the pen to the paper, and it looks good for everybody. Everyone's happy. They listen to UFO and Bigfoot and Sasquatch and alien stories, all type of stuff. And in the background, I draw cartoons. It's most important to start with the furthest part of the drawing itself, such as the jungle. This is in 1972. So I draw the furthest part back, palm trees and all the thick jungle. Definitely going to be aliens. You could even bet Dave's beard on it. This weird, super tall palm jungle trees, thick brush. Scribble, scribble, scribble. Not sure if there's any coconuts in them, so we're not going to do coconuts at this point in time. Let's put that there. Look at that. But the secret to the tropical trees, just do the top, make them spiky. It's the cross hatching. Look at that. Yep. That's right, Mr. Gremlin. Anyways, might as well draw the UFO. It's right there.
Looking good, Dirty. Looking good.
Just...
Hi, Blue Lightning Cards. How you doing? Puck Elf, welcome. Vash the Impaler, River Dog. Good to see you both. Who else has come in here for hour 2? Guardian Jackpot, how you doing? All right. Want to say a big thank you to Gizmo, Doof, and Jennifer for the super chats tonight. We very much appreciate the love and support. And we want to remind all of you that you can shop at spacedoutradio.com. Get your swag today. We do not have ugly swag, people. We got stuff that you actually want to wear out in public. Yeah, not just to the garage sales or the local flea market. No, you're going to want to wear our stuff in public. So go check it out today. Here we go with hour 2, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, at KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Bandobast. Bandobast is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we go again with our good friend Phill Webster. First time on Spaced Out Radio. He's got a couple of books out. His latest, Glowing Deeper. It's all about finding your way in consciousness and on your own spiritual path. Phill, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're glad you're here, my man. You know, in your journey in getting into more of a spiritual effect, who have you connected with, whether it's your spirit guides or whether it's other spiritual beings that have helped you really find your own place?
Yeah, I feel that really the spirit guides is kind of, when you look into mediumship, that's really the key to it, and I think the key to that is really meditation. So being able to step back from your thoughts, and this is, you know, even in a more sort of practical way, whether you're kind of leaning towards this or not, I think it's really hugely beneficial to be able to just have that time with yourself and recognize that it's possible to step back from your thoughts and realize that you're not part of that whole sort of mess that's going on 24/7, you know. And I think that when you recognize the ability to do that, then you come to the understanding that we're not our thoughts, you know, we're something that observes our thoughts. And then that opens up this whole idea about like a more of a consciousness, you know, that you're something beyond what we've decided to go with, you know. And just to sort of go a little bit further with that, when you get to that space, then you recognize when something else comes in that's not you. So when there's another voice there, whether we're talking spirit guides or communication with somebody else that's passed over, if you're giving somebody a reading as a medium, then when you're able to distinguish between you as your sort of, you know, as this kind of higher consciousness or backseat driver, as I would call it, that's kind of constantly always observing this, then you recognize when something comes in the middle, that could be a spirit guide or somebody that has got a message for someone else.
How does one find their own spirit guides?
I think that's the key. That's really the key. Meditation is absolutely the doorway to that. I mean, I've heard that they just show up. Occasionally you'll hear stories of people talking about having near misses or avoiding accidents or something along those lines. But yeah, I feel that going into it deeper, the sort of more sustainable way of learning about this, at least for me. And it's a strange one, because I know sometimes this comes easy to people very, very quickly. I know people that have looked into mediumship, and within 6 months they're up, standing in front of a crowd of people giving very accurate readings. For others, it doesn't come so easily. I think for myself, I'm somewhere in the middle of this. When I sit down and practice it, or I'm part of what you call a development circle, where we kind of practice on other people in the group, I've pretty much had a 100% success rate, and occasionally people, when I tell them this, they're saying, well, that's impossible. No, even the greatest mediums have off days. I mean, I haven't really got to that stage yet, but so far so good. But it's not like I'm getting this information all day long. I have to kind of put myself into that state. And again, to sort of go back to it, I think that meditation, and then he said medication, that could be a way around it. Meditation is really the key. Yeah.
All right. So take us through your meditation. What do you go through?
So essentially and this is all, I talk about these things, and I know how it works, but I don't know the actual mechanics of it. I don't know why it works. I know what works for me. And with my books, I've included these meditations as I learned about them, and sort of wrote them in real time, and just wrote what works for me. So if somebody else wanted to go on this journey or towards mediumship, then they could follow these steps, follow these meditations, and in theory, it'll work for them too. And I've had a lot of good feedback from people, both at the start of this journey and people that have been doing it for 20 years as well. Anyway, but yeah, I would say that that's really the key. So essentially I would sit and open up with the chakra points, all that, sort of grounding yourself first, and then just imagining everything opening up and sort of expanding your light outwards. Really the key is the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra, which is kind of the ones that really connect with guides and give us the ability to sort of speak clearly and relay information that might come through. And then just invite your guides to step in. If you were reading for somebody, then the idea is that your guide kind of forms an orderly queue of people that have passed over or that have a message for your client or whoever you're sitting with. And that's pretty much how the process works. Yeah.
All right. So when you are kind of doing this, and you are delving into your own meditation, what are you grounding to? What are you thinking of? Who are you trying to become peace with?
I think it's just really, again, just connecting with the moment of now. And I think that's like a powerful tool to have, because everything starts with now. We've only got now at the end of the day. And that's really it goes off in, you can go in all sorts of directions from that point. If we're talking about we've only got the moment of now, and I'll just sort of veer off a little bit briefly, then if you sort of buy into this theory, and I mean there's more than a theory, then it essentially means that everything that's ever happened is happening right now, or everything that ever could potentially happen is happening in this moment of right now, which then goes off into multiple timelines and multiverses and all that fun stuff, which is way too complicated for me to try and explain at 6 a.m. But yeah, I feel that the key is really just sort of being comfortable with this present moment and sort of grounding yourself to this moment right here. And then when you kind of start thinking of it in that way, it tends to get rid of the distractions. When you sort of start thinking of this more profound experience, then you stop worrying about, okay, I've got to feed the cat in half an hour or something like that, and it sort of puts you into this state where you can be open to these experiences, and that your guides could potentially come in and work with you.
Okay, so when you're doing that, which guides are you trying to connect with?
I feel that I'm still, yeah. I mean, this is year 3 for me now, pretty much on the nose, really, since I've really from consciously going into looking into this. I feel like I'm still getting to know mine, there's definitely a few of them. They come through really clear, but I don't really get an answer to who's who. I don't think they're that concerned with that. They don't seem to be too fussed about names. People typically name them just to make things easier for ourselves, or that you can sort of talk about them in less of abstract terms. But yeah, the way I receive this stuff is more like an impression. It's a feeling, and again, it's a very subjective kind of and difficult to describe. It's such an abstract concept. I think there's a quote that says, one of the most difficult, and I'm messing the quote up already, but is difficult ways to describe this is trying to use language to describe these very subjective feelings. I feel that these things come through, and any sort of mystical experience, with the exception of actually seeing a ghost or feeling a breeze or something like that, or witnessing paranormal activity, then these things typically come through as a very personal experience, in a different way. It's more of like a knowing, like an intuitive knowing. And when you have it, it's in those moments it to be true. It's only afterwards, if it's a fleeting thing and you're not sort of versed in practicing it, then you doubt it. When the thoughts and the sort of logical thinking comes in, you look back and you think, well, what did that happen? And it doesn't resonate the same way that everyday stuff does. So it's just really, beginning to sort of trust your intuition. And the more you have these experiences, the more you kind of start recognizing them and realizing that they start to become more tangible. Yeah.
As you're meditating, do you have a lot of spirits come around you and maybe chat with you or just sit with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel a presence come in, and it's not a scary presence. It's just kind of as though someone's stepping in from behind you. I don't know why it's always behind you. That's at least that's how it works for me, and it seems to be for a lot of mediums. They'll just kind of step in, and you'll just be aware of a very subtle, at least for me, it's very subtle energy that's with you. And sometimes it's more profound than others. I have had moments, especially that first year when I opened it up to this. It seemed like I was just getting hit with it, like constantly. Now I kind of have to take more time to just sort of sit with it. I feel like I've almost plateaued a little bit. So I'm just kind of working through that area at the moment. But I still recognize it as it comes in. And then occasionally you'll just get a random, at least for me, I mean, people work different ways with the different clair senses. For me, it's very much clairvoyant. I'll describe somebody. I'll see a person if I'm trying to connect with somebody that's passed over, for example, and be able to describe that fairly well, pretty much accurately. Like I said, I've had like good success with it so far. But it might be, it could be any other way. There's clairsentience, which again is sort of feeling. I'm just looking at them down. I've got them noted down here because I always get them wrong. Claircognizance, again, just sort of really knowing. Clairaudience, hearing something, like literally hearing somebody speak their name or something like that. When you start working on these things, then you begin to recognize where your abilities are kind of more strong.
Right. And so as you are strengthening your own abilities, what are you aiming for? Are you aiming for connection with the other side? Are you aiming to talk to spirit? Are you aiming for clear consciousness, out of body experiences? Tell me.
That's an interesting question, actually, as it kind of pertains to where I am now. So all through this mediumship exploration the last few years, I found it really fascinating. So again, some of the evidence that I've given to people, and again, I'm relatively new to this, so it's not like I'm telling someone there's going to be an earthquake or anything like that. But I'll sort of recognize their loved ones, and they'll confirm that. And that'll pretty much be me done. There'll be a very basic message. And again, I'm not calling myself a medium at this point. I'm a developing medium, but I don't feel that it's necessarily my end goal. I kind of got that validation that I needed. Essentially, it came from wanting to know that my mum's still around or that she's okay. And kind of when I got that repeatedly, then that kind of settled that for me. I mean, I'll still continue to learn about mediumship, but I'm not sure if it's my end goal. I don't sit with clients. I don't ask anyone for money to give them a reading. But I feel that it's part of a bigger process that's going on here. And one thing that seems to be personally happening with me is it always comes back to that experience of being in the now. That seems to be my area, but it's also a very difficult area to try and sort of put into words. Yeah.
Is it for you maybe about wanting to connect with the other side, to have that conversation again with your mother? I mean, there's a lot of people who get into spirituality and mysticism because, you know, maybe they've had a loved one uh, pass too soon, and they just need that closure.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be a very common trigger to send people into this arena. It definitely was for me, but I feel that I've had that validation repeatedly through other mediums and through sort of synchronicities and things that I've experienced myself. And then again, not strictly my mum, but giving other people evidence of their loved ones that have passed over. I'm like, okay, well, this is real, right? And again, I'm not going to try and convince anyone of that. If somebody doesn't believe in it, then I 100% respect that. And I would have been on the fence with it a few years ago. Just personally, I can only talk from my own experience, and I've had enough of them now to know that this is a real thing. But yeah, I feel that personally, I don't necessarily need that validation anymore. I find it interesting. I find mediumship fascinating, and I will continue to learn as a medium. And these books are primarily about mediumship, but I don't feel like it's my end goal. I'm not sure what it is yet. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, what do you think your end goal is? This is interesting.
Well, I wonder. I just feel that there's a bigger thing going on here, and that's part of it. Especially when you get into this whole connecting with a moment of now thing, and that seems to be something that I come back to again and again. I can write about it a lot better than I talk about it. It's such a complex issue. But one thing that I'm fascinated with at the moment, and it's a bit of a buzz term in spiritual circles, people are talking about shifting timelines. So there's this idea, and it's somewhat backed up by science in quantum physics, which I'm definitely in no way going to even attempt to touch right now. But again, coming back to that moment of now, and then this kind of field of potentiality, I think a good way, excuse me, to describe it, and this is something I've just been using lately to sort of go to highlight this, is that, for example, now I could stand up, fling this laptop at the wall, run out into the street naked, singing something or other, I don't know, and that would take my life on a completely different trajectory to if I would just sit here, continue having this conversation with you, and then eventually go back to bed before the sun comes up over here. So there's two very parallel or different ways that I could go, or there's multiple ways, but if I did that first one, then I'm likely going to get arrested, and then my fiance will have to wake up and deal with all that, and that's going to change her day, and essentially that exists as a possibility. I could do that at any moment, right? And that's a very real thing that could send my life in a completely different timeline to where we just have this conversation and I go to bed and do what I expect I'm going to do for the rest of the day. So I feel that this is there's a really powerful lesson in that we can really, people talk about manifestation and all that kind of stuff. I think it's less about, making a vision board and staring at a Ferrari and hoping that it shows up outside in a week, to actually sort of realizing that you can go in pretty much any direction you want, but it's not a case of things happening by magic. We everything comes from thought, but then we need to go ahead and manifest this practically. Yeah.
How do we manifest what we want? That is such a powerful word. I have friends who can manifest money, or manifest UFOs, or manifest pregnancy, or manifest good things happening to their children in school, or whatever it may be. Manifestation, I believe in. I believe it's very powerful. But the human mind is so hard to get there and to control to its ability. How do we do that?
Yeah, this is something that I'm very much in the thick of at the moment, trying to sort of wrap my head around. And I think that we all have those moments when you decide that you want that job or that relationship or any of that stuff, and you've decided that there's no other way, that's it for you. Then it tends to come about, I feel, when you sort of like burn your bridges and just really focus on whatever that thing might be. I think I've been reading a lot of Neville Goddard lately. So he was kind of a very spiritual person, a teacher, essentially. That I think I might be getting this wrong now, but I'm not sure if he passed away in the 70s, but anyway, he was a very big proponent of talking about going with the feeling, and that seems to be the across the board to kind of get into that state of mind. And again, that sort of ties into, I think, of being in this moment now, and imagining that there is that possibility of whatever it is that you desire out there, that you just need to switch to that reality. And I think that the quickest way of doing that is by trying to tap into how that would feel, rather than just putting it out there that you want that. With the more sort of traditional sort of manifestation thing that people talk about is if you put it out there to the universe that you want something, then you're just going to get that want. You're just going to get that acknowledgement that that's what you lack, rather than if you put yourself into the state of having that already, then you're going to get that a lot quicker, or shift to that timeline even.
How many timelines have you visited?
Well, I think we constantly visit them. I mean, it's such a weird, it's such a constant, like, it's such an abstract thing, but I think we're constantly doing it. For example, this is such a weird way to talk about it, but just me going like this, for example, is shifting us to a new timeline and then if I didn't do that, if I just sit like this, and that sounds kind of in its most basic sense, but I feel that, that's all we do all day long. That's what reality is. We have a thought, and then we make a decision based on that thought, and we go with it. Do you go left or do you go right? Your day is going to go in a completely different direction that if you go left instead of right, or vice versa. All these other things will happen. All these other people you'll encounter, you're jumping on their trajectory as well. And it seems to be that's just how things work. That's essentially the fabric of our reality. But when you sort of talk about it in these more abstract terms, then it sounds like this big mystical weird woo-woo thing, but it just is what it is. At the end of the day, we're constantly manifesting our own reality. We're constantly shifting timelines with each decision that we make.
Mm-hmm. You have not spoken a lot tonight about any cosmic connections with spirits or ghosts or messages that you have received from the other side. How loud has the other side been for you, or are you still practicing trying to get that communication going?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's kind of highlights what I was just saying, that I feel that it's not my end goal, and that there's a bigger sort of conversation to be had around this stuff, which I'm still learning about, and I'm not sure which direction it's going. But in terms of communication with people that have passed over, I've had like fleeting moments. Of course, I've had given evidence to people that when I've sat in practice and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've had some fleeting moments. For example, when I first moved into this apartment, I was kind of desperate for some work at the time. I think it was around the time that I was waiting for the first book to be published. And I was kind of doing random jobs here and there. And I moved into this area in West London. And I remember waking one morning, and again, it always seems to be like that, this kind of limbo state when you come out of sleep, and getting a very strong sense of a lady that lives here. And I saw her and got the sense that she was somebody that worked in the entertainment industry, as in the theater. I got a very strong impression of the theater. And just so happened, like a few days later, I saw an ad come up for a job at the local theater, just kind of like helping out backstage, bartending, all that kind of stuff. And it was just across the street. And I didn't really want to do it, but I was thinking, okay, well, why not? Let's do that. That would be quite convenient. And there didn't seem to be too much of a commitment to it that I would need to do like a 9 to 5 or anything like that. And I almost like just blew it off one morning. And I remember waking up at the morning of the interview and thinking, I just can't, I'm not really that bothered about it. And sort of drifting off. And I got this lady appeared again, and I literally got like wake up very clearly in my head. And I went and got the job, and pretty much got it immediately. And I just wondered, I don't know who she was, but I know that she's connected to that theater somehow. Yeah.
Do you find, though, that you are picking up spirit a lot quicker? 10 seconds.
Sure. Yeah. I've seen them when I'm talking to people. I've had conversations with friends and been like, okay, that person wasn't there. Yeah.
Weird. We have Phill Webster here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. He's the author of Glowing Deeper and a couple more books. You can go find them on Amazon online. Spaced Out Radio continues with our spiritual juice. Right after this, my name is Dave Scott. So glad you are here to speak with us tonight, hang out, and get the spiritual message. All right, we are clear. Let's see what Dirty Filth has for us here. We had a blob alert. Sounds like special forces are on to us. Grab the body parts and scram. Oh, morbid tonight, Dirty Filth. Very morbid. Tokeland, how you doing? All right. Dirty Filth, you're not going to introduce your art? Or are you forgetting to put your microphone on?
I'm trying here, Dave. I just draw cartoons, man, so...
I know, but you're right. Who's meowing in the back?
Oh, we got whiskey grumping. Should be fine. She might not be fine.
And what was Blob up to? That was a quick sighting.
Well, she's piled behind me right now on a pile of books, so not much you can do about it, Dave.
I guess she's she's a little bit diva. Hi, Kim and Ari. How are you? You know what? You know what time of night it is, Dirty Filth?
We're not going to sing the company song, are we?
We are. Well, that's later on. It is that time of the night where we remind all of our audience around the world tuning on in that May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada is the 3rd annual SOR fan party. You are all invited. Tickets are $100 for VIP, which you get a swag bag. You get into the free radio show that we're going to do live. You get the VIP party with all of our special guests. The next day, if you choose, you could go ghost hunting with Merle in Virginia City and then take part in a Skywatch that night with Melinda Leslie. Sundays are free for all. Hang out with who you want. Hey, this is a great time and a great weekend for you to get away. You go to a conference, tickets are like $200, $300, $400. And guess what? You don't even get to talk to the people who you went there to see. No, they're usually dodging you, hiding in their hotel rooms, or they have bigger and better people to hang out with. Not our guests. They want to hang out with you. They know you're important. That's why we do this event every year. We do it for you, May 10th through 12th. If you want tickets, book them today and reserve your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com. info@spacedoutradio.com. We're going to have a good giveaway, too. I have a feeling that our good friend El Ovni Volador is showing up in Reno. Okay, Dirty Filth is going to be there. Our entire Spaced Out Radio team. Science Bob and Lala are going to be there. Melinda Leslie, Merle, Lorian Fenton, probably Misha Johnson. Geraldine Orozco is going to be there. I believe Carter Bouchard's going to be there. Brian Bowden is trying to make it. So is the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. Jim Goodall, Michael Schratt are going to be there. Who else is coming? I believe Becky Vickers, a guest next week on the Trail of the Goat Man in Texas. She's coming up for it. We got a lot of cool people that are going to be there to hang out with you, and we want you there as well. info@spacedoutradio.com. Reserve your tickets today. We're going to be printing them out soon. If you want VIP tickets, we need to know before April 10th. We need to know before April 10th, because after April 10th, then I'm just guessing on your swag size. I don't know if John Ramirez is showing up this year. I will invite him, but I don't know. So come and join us, and we'll see you all there. Okay? Cool. Thank you tonight to Gizmo, Doof, Yennefer for the super chats, Great super chats, great support. Thank you very much. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. We're going to be making some new stuff here very, very soon. I want to add a hoodie. That's why. I want to add a nice hoodie to the zip up type hoodie, not the pullover, a zip up. Because we need a zip up hoodie. That's why I'm looking at it. Yeah. 20 seconds, guys. 20 seconds. And
Have a good night, Dave.
See you, Dirty. Christine, I slept very well last night. Hi, Canna Chef Chris. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We have Phill Webster till the top of the hour, finding our consciousness and our new reality. Phill, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find your books?
Yeah, sure. They're pretty much available everywhere. I guess the main stopping point is Amazon. But yeah, both of them are available. There's the new one right now. It's just, I think it's out. Actually, it's out tomorrow in the States. Like physically, you can already get it digitally. But yeah, you can pretty much get it everywhere. Barnes and Noble, obviously Amazon. In the UK, WH Smith, to all the usual bookshops.
Excellent. The importance of having guidelines when we are delving into our own spirituality. What is that like for you? How have you set your own spiritual guidelines?
Well, I mean, I haven't had any negative experiences through this. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I've spoke with a lot of mediums, and it's kind of a subject that somewhat interests me. When people talk about ghosts, that they sort of immediately go to the darker side of things. I've definitely met with mediums that have had negative experiences and believe that there are sort of dark energies out there. But I think that it's really what you bring to it, the attitude that you go into it with. If you're kind of looking for that, then you're gonna attract that. So far, I haven't had any negative experiences myself. I kind of tend to go into it with a very positive attitude, and I think it's really, again, the intention that you bring in, which determines the outcome or what you bring through.
Right. Have you ever, during your visitation here to your own spiritual connections, have they ever presented to you a darker side?
I haven't. Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately for me, in terms of for your listeners, it's not possibly not that interesting. But I haven't experienced anything negative, nothing at all. When I was a kid, we dabbled with a Ouija board as a teenager, and we brought something through that wasn't anything sensational, but I don't believe we brought something positive through. And for a long time, I'd look back on that experience, and I kind of dismissed it as I got older. I thought, well, I don't know about that. We're very impressionable at that age. At least my crew that I was hanging around with in the early 90s, none of us really trusted each other. We were all very insecure and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of look back on it thinking, well, again, did that stuff really happen? Now when I look back on it, I'm like, okay, it probably did. And it wasn't a positive experience, but I believe that, again, that's kind of what we brought to it. Whatever came through was kind of manifesting through our own insecurities and doubts. But yeah, I know some mediums. I know some people that are active ghost hunters that that will absolutely say that there's negative stuff out there. Yeah.
Do you feel that you're lucky that you haven't?
Yeah, I feel I am. There's part of me that almost would, and I don't want to put it out there, but that would be interested to experience, to go to a haunted place and maybe see some activities like poltergeist activity, something like that. But at the end of the day, I guess I'm quite lucky that I haven't, in these 3 years that I've been looking into all this, I haven't experienced any kind of dark energies.
Ange from Australia would like to know, Phill, what are your protection techniques you use?
I don't particularly use any to start with. Like I said, I feel that so far it's just always been the intention. I will ask that I'm only bringing in positivity and my own guys and anyone that, or anything that just really wants my higher good or the higher good. So I'll kind of put that out there straight away. In terms of actual protection, I would say that it probably, like what is the sort of more traditional ways is just kind of visualizing something like an energy field around you, and you can do this as well when you're walking out on the street, when you go into crowded places, and especially for people that feel things more deeply or empaths. When we go out into the public, it's easy to become very overwhelmed very quickly, and I feel like just sort of envisioning that space of protection around you, it seems to work. It seems to work, although it sounds quite woo and what have you, but yeah.
For someone who's very spiritually adept in learning about it, why do you seem to hold back with your own skepticism?
Yeah, I mean, I've always got that element of it, and I know that a lot of this sounds. I know we've got we're in good company here, but I'm when I talk about this stuff to pretty much anyone else throughout the day, everyone just sort of zones out and they're not interested, and I get it, or they'll question it. So I feel like it's always. I feel that it's just sort of my default setting that I'm always going to try and give to the, acknowledge the other side of it, that maybe this doesn't resonate with everybody. And same for your listeners and viewers as well. This isn't always the most interesting, like people aren't necessarily interested in mediumship and talking about love and light and all that stuff. So yeah.
I want to ask you, but I'll get to my question here in a moment. Let's go to Vanessa here. Do you think your attachment from the Ouija board stayed with you? And if so, for how long?
It seemed to at the time. I did struggle with it. I think I was around 15 years old, I would say, somewhere around there. And we kind of just dabbled with it. We were all, again, mid-90s, early 90s. We didn't have much entertainment back in those days. And I grew up on an island as well. So it was pretty limited with what we had. We had like a record player and the TV, and that was it. We were pretty much in the same situation for any teenagers from the two or three decades before. So we did this Ouija board, like just for fun, and we did seem to tap into something. And me and a friend of mine, just the two of us in particular, kind of took a shine to it, and we kept doing it away from the group. And we picked up something. And then when we stopped doing it, that something seemed to stick around. Like I could physically feel it. I would get this sensation of like an overwhelming kind of dizziness, like a rush sort of going through me. And we decided we were done with it. But then this kept happening, just out of the blue throughout the day. And it kind of creeped me out. This is probably the closest that I've ever come to some sort of negative spiritual experience. But I sort of got through it. I did actually practice the protection techniques we were talking about, sort of imagining like a bubble of protection around me. And somebody told me that I went to college with at the time. Her family were kind of like this gypsy family, and she was giving me this sort of techniques to do. And that seemed to stop it. Yeah, whatever it was seemed to go away. I don't think it stuck with me. And like I say, as I got a bit older, my whole sort of belief system changed for quite a long time anyway, and I kind of dismissed it. Looking back on it now, yeah, I believe that something went down there, and I wouldn't endorse anyone using a Ouija board. But that being said, I know plenty of mediums that do use them that think that they're just another tool of to connect.
Yeah, I look at the Ouija board the way a lot of people look at guns,
Right.
Where they're like, this is bad. We don't want to connect with anything. When realistically it's a tool, like a gun is. it's a tool. And now I'm not trying to open myself up to controversy there by talking about guns or anything like that. But I see the Ouija board castigated much like the somebody who has rifles or guns or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, yeah, there's the nightmare stories that we all hear, about lights flickering and going off and growling and roaring and sinister messages coming through. But I think it's all on how you use it too. At least that's my opinion. Let's get to a question here from Finkelstein. Phil, what do you think about crop circles?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the whole UFO thing. I just feel that it's not my arena. I feel that there's so much literature out there that this has been, people have really dove into this, and I feel that if I was to go into it, and I would love to be honest with you, but I wouldn't know where to start. There's so much out there like already that where would I step in and bring something new to it? I haven't had any, as far as I know, experience with alien contact or anything like that. Or maybe I have. Maybe we're talking about the same thing. What we've been talking about for the last couple of hours. But as far as I know, it's not really my arena. I do find it fascinating. Yeah, I believe that it's logical that we're not alone here. But I also find the idea fascinating that, and of course there's been sightings and all that kind of stuff, but I think that there's possibly more to it than just that, than we can actually comprehend. Rather than somebody getting into an object and traveling from A to B, which I'm sure is a thing as well, that there's possibly more about that. That perhaps consciousness itself is a means to travel. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. Do you believe then, and this kind of adds to Finkelstein's question here, do you believe, like many are starting to research now, that the phenomena is everything? It's not a direction of consciousness or a direction of paranormal or supernatural or cryptid or UFOs, but in fact, the phenomena is all one.
Yeah, why not? This thing is nuts when you start picking it apart. Like we were just talking about earlier, and sorry to be a broken record with the whole, the moment of now thing and all that. But that in itself is crazy when you start dissecting it. That we can't even actually, between science and spirituality and everything in between, we can't actually decide what time actually is. And that's what we do all day long. We're using it to measure our day-to-day lives. But when you start looking into it, it can be pretty freaky, and we're just talking about existence itself. So why not? Yeah, why not? Why isn't everything? Perhaps it is just all part of this whole experience. I mean, I believe that it is, yeah. But we're just focused on the kind of mundane. I feel that we possibly, zigged when we should have zagged somewhere along the way here, because this doesn't feel, the way that we've got things set up practically doesn't seem to be working very well.
No, I think it's the communities are way too segregated still in order to bring it together. But a lot of people are branching out because, you're sitting in the forest having a nice experience with Bigfoot or Dogman, and the next thing you know, there's UFOs flying over, or you're seeing spirits of people walking around.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's I think that there's absolutely more going on. But we're just sort of caught up in all the distractions.
Damn distractions. They're always out there. I'm teasing, but that is the reality of what is being faced on a daily basis regarding this. How do you keep an open mind? How do you make sure that you aren't biasing yourself on any of the information that you find out?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, again, I'm naturally skeptical. Like first time that I walked into a spiritualist church, and I wanted to go in there and spiritualist churches, by the way, they're kind of 10 a penny around London. I'm not sure that they're so prominent in the States. But yeah, you can pretty much walk into a spiritualist church on a Sunday evening over here, and there'll be a medium giving a demonstration of mediumship. And I remember the first time that I walked into one, I put like all of my social media stuff to private. I don't know why. I didn't tell anyone that I was going there, but I was just like, okay, I don't want any room for error here, that somebody somehow could look me up, if someone's backstage with a mic to the media, all these things that you kind of see of people trying to debunk this stuff. And yeah, I just was just amazed at how the medium that gave me the first message from my mum, to just tell a little story here around that, was really the next sort of catalyst for changing realities for me. She gave me a very brief message, but one amazing thing that happened was that her accent changed. So this medium that gave the message, she had a very strong, like, London accent, like a Cockney accent, and all of a sudden she started speaking with this Northern English accent, which is what my mum had. And that really just, that was the game changer for me. I felt a lump come to my throat. And she gave a very basic sort of explanation of what happened around my mum passing and things like that. But the fact that her accent changed and I just walked in off the street, that was just, mind-boggling for me. Sorry, and again, I'm trailing, but in my defense, it's nearly 7 a.m. I've been up since the 4.
You're doing great, and like I said, this was gonna go down really, really fast. Let's go back to Angie in Australia. Phill, what is your opinion on dimensions? Do you think that they are all playing out right now?
Yeah, that's really the sort of area that I'm trying to verse myself on at the moment, and I think that it is such a fascinating subject. When do we come down? And I don't want to butcher this, but if you talk about Schrodinger's cat, this theory that the cat's is the cat dead or alive in the box, depending on what who looks at it, or if it's observed or not observed. And then I think it went from that theory, and again, I'm probably ruining this right now, but I think the theory went from that idea of it being both alive and dead in the box at the same time, until it was observed. And then the next theory came along, was that the observer actually splits into 2 different realities, where the cat is dead and the cat's alive in both realities. And then that person splits off into 2 different timelines. And then it goes from there. So if you go back even further to sort of the Big Bang, or whatever you want to, explain that this whole thing is, then that's happening constantly at every moment. And that means that, going back to what we said earlier about multiple timelines, about everything existing in this moment as a possibility or as potential.
Yes.
I think that it's a thing. I think that it's really a thing. I think the theory around it, at least the last one that I wrote about, is that it's not necessarily that we're on a different dimension or a different timeline, but there's a possibility of that timeline. So I guess it is there, but it's suspended in a state of superposition until we choose that reality. Yeah, I think that's what's something to do with what's going on with this whole thing.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting part, is to try and figure out what is the connection, what's your path, where are we supposed to go with all of this, and does it follow in other dimensions? I mean, how many of yourselves, what happens if you run into yourself on the other side? What happens if your other side wants to hurt you, or you've already died on that side? I mean, what the hell do you do?
Well, that's an interesting concept as well. The fact that if that is a real thing, then there should be multiple realities out there where we're already dead, which then kind of, if you were to buy into that, and I feel that that's a very, even though it sounds completely way out there, I think this is something that science considers as well, that it's a possibility, right? Like, why not? If that theory is correct, then there should be multiple timelines out there that I'm already dead and that I am already on the other side. So again, just going back to what you said earlier about this whole thing just taking place within one. I mean, it is, it is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, that's reality. We're just choosing to focus on the sort of more mundane side of it.
Absolutely. We got about 5.5 minutes to go with you before we have to say good night to you, Phill. Before we get to that, what do you want your audience to know? What do you want them to know about finding their own consciousness and peace and light in life? Because not many people, especially in today's society, have that or that ability.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I talk about these kind of very abstract theories, but I think it all comes back to just, and I know, I always associated meditation with kind of yoga gurus or something, and it didn't really seem that interesting to me, but I find it so beneficial in all areas of life. Whether you go into these kind of more mystical aspects or not bother at all, I feel like it's hugely beneficial just to take that time to be able to sit with yourself and, again, I sort of harp on about it a lot, but recognizing that we're not our thoughts, that we're something that reacts to our thoughts and that can observe our thoughts. And that really is a catalyst to change a lot of stuff. That changes all sorts, that you don't get offended so easily. When you can sort of step back and think, well, okay, that's just me relating that event to something else. If somebody swears at you on the street or something, you got that possibility to just run with the thought and get all head up and caught up in it, or to just take a step back and think, I don't actually need to react to that. There's that kind of voice of reason that's always there. You just need to find it, like that voice of reason that steps in when you might have an accident or something, or a moment of crisis. That we all have that kind of narrative that's just like, this is going on right now. You need to make a decision with this, and it's constantly there. Yeah,
I think that's a very powerful statement. Very powerful statement. I remember back in 2013, I was driving up to go ATVing for the first time in spring, and I was all hyped up. My regular riding partners couldn't go, and the entire 90-minute trip up to the mountain, I kept having that spiritual voice in my chest saying, turn around. Today's not a good day to ride. Turn around. Today's not a good day. I didn't listen. And 5 minutes into our ride, I hit a rock at 5 miles an hour, which caused my steering to go into a ravine. And my ATV rolled over top of me and down an embankment 250 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that little voice that talks is so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. And it's amazing we don't pay attention to it as much as we should.
Yeah, I think really that's really such a powerful key to pretty much everything, but especially if you were to go more towards these sort of spiritual dimensions of life, then that's really the voice to get in touch with. Yeah. And essentially we're talking about trusting our intuition, Yeah.
All right. We have 2 minutes to go here. For you, what's on your agenda next? What are your goals here, as 2024 continues?
I'm right in the middle of my third book. I thought it was going to be part of this Letting Glow trilogy. As we said, the second book just came out this week, but it's not. It seems to sort of be going beyond the whole thing about mediumship. I'm going to continue learning as a medium. I find this whole stuff fascinating. It's very much given me comfort. I've recently joined a new development circle with, again, the lady I mentioned earlier, Claire Broad. I've trained with some of the best mediums around, but I really want to focus on that and sort of see where it takes me. Yeah.
How come? Just the path? Just the way you want to go?
So, yeah, I mean, it absolutely is. It feels like this was always the path, that I just didn't see it. And now I'm on it. I'm certainly not, it's not really getting me rich anytime soon, but it feels authentic and it feels like the thing that I should have been doing all along. Yeah.
Okay, I do got to ask though, just out of fun here, how many tarot card decks do you have now?
I've got one, and I have barely picked it up. Yeah, I need to look into that.
That's all part of it.
That's what they say.
Next thing you know, you're gonna have a wall of tarot card decks. 25 to 50 different ones. Yeah. You have crystals surrounding them. And then you'll be burning incense, and I love the incense, by the way. So that's kind of cool, taking baths with Epsom salts and bath bombs.
Yeah,
it's all coming for you, my friend. This is what you got to look forward to.
I think my fiance, she wouldn't stand for any of it. Yeah.
Where can people find your books and any more information about you?
Yeah, so both books, Letting Glow and Glowing Deeper, they're both on Amazon. You can order them both, and then they're in the usual bookshops. I've got a website which is philwebster.com. That's Phill with 2 L's, and then same on social media. I'm quite happy to hear from people and carry on these discussions. If anything, what we said resonated with anyone, I'm happy to discuss it further if they want to email me through the website.
Phill Webster, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to meet you and know you tonight. I mean, your power beard is you got some good game going on there. We're going to score that one about a 9.4 out of 10. Yeah, and you would have got a 10 out of 10 if you would actually put your hair down.
Ah, okay. Oh, maybe next time.
Yeah, we know you got to pony it up right now, but maybe next time. Thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight.
Thanks for
Coming up
having me.
next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Follow that up with Travis William Moostus and the UFO report, Big That the Crypted report. A busy hour 3 coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for letting me ramble on there.
Oh, no, you were great. You were great. I'll let you go in and get back into bed.
Yeah, I'll try to do that. Yeah. It's still
I got
dark here.
I got another 2 hours to go.
All
So
right, nice.
it's all good, my man. You take
All right.
care.
Well, thank you for having me on, and I hope to speak to you again someday.
Take care. We will.
You too. All right. Bye.
Bye. Nice guy, that Phill Webster. Nice guy. Great beard. Great beard. I'll be right back, people. And Aussie Ange, I didn't mean, what did I miss? What did I miss? Fill me in when I get back. All right. Got Travis in the hot seat right now. Hey, Trucker Andrew, how you doing? Long time, no time. Remember to book your tickets for our Vegas event or make that our Reno event at info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. We want to see you, as many of you there as possible. It's going to be great. Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno. I know Susie B is going to be there. I know Tim Mothman and his goatee are going to be there. By the way, Tim Mothman's goatee will be signing autographs at the event. His beard has already asked for, his goatee has already asked for its own table. Mama Catherine and Charlie are going to be there. Oh, yeah. Let's build that list, people. Build that list. Thank you to Gizmo, Doof Doof, and Jennifer for the super chats. Greatly appreciated tonight. And if you want to know who's on tomorrow night on the show, we have Sean Burris, Extreme Paranormal. This guy's got a badass goatee, too. Don't forget, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, spacedoutradio.com. And here we go, everybody. Let's make sure we're still awake.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bandobast. Bandobast is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. As the story goes, a lone traveler drives along the winding roads of Shenandoah National Park late at night. The atmosphere is thick with an otherworldly stillness, and the only sound is the haunting call of nocturnal creatures. Suddenly, the driver notices a figure on the side of the road, a hitchhiker needing assistance. Perhaps feeling a sense of compassion, the driver decides to stop and offer a ride to the mysterious stranger. The hitchhiker, often described as a woman with a pale face and a distant gaze, silently enters the car without uttering a word. The driver, attempting to converse politely, soon realizes that the hitchhiker is strangely cold, and her responses are vague and unsettling. As the car winds through the darkened forest, the atmosphere becomes increasingly tense. Upon reaching a certain point in the park, the driver turns to speak to the hitchhiker, only to discover that she has vanished without a trace. The sudden disappearance leaves the driver in a state of shock and disbelief. Confused and frightened, the driver continues the journey with a lingering sense of unease. The legend takes a chilling turn when the driver, eager to unravel the mystery, decides to inquire about the hitchhiker's identity. Local residents and park rangers share a common realization. The hitchhiker matches the description of a woman who met a tragic fate in the park years ago. According to the tale, the woman perished in an accident along the same stretch of road where she continues to seek rides in the afterlife. Many variations of the vanishing hitchhiker legend exist, each with its own unique details and local twists. Some accounts claim that the ghostly hitchhiker may leave behind a memento or a token, serving as a chilling reminder of their spectral presence. Others suggest encountering the vanishing hitchhiker is an omen or warning, foretelling misfortune or tragedy. Whether a cautionary tale or a ghostly encounter, the legend of the vanishing hitchhiker in Shenandoah National Park adds an extra layer of mystery to the already enchanting landscape. Park visitors may find themselves glancing nervously at the side of the road, half expecting to catch a glimpse of the ethereal hitchhiker, forever trapped between the realms of the living and the dead in this picturesque yet haunted wilderness. Next, we have the Lady in White, Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado. Now, Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado is renowned for its breathtaking landscapes and diverse wildlife and harbors a mystical legend that has intrigued visitors for generations. The legend of the Lady in White. Nestled amongst the towering peaks and pristine alpine meadows, this spooky tale adds an air of mystery to the already enchanting park atmosphere. The legend begins with a young woman, supposedly named Eleanor, who, in the late 19th century, lived in a small cabin near what is now known as Bear Lake. Eleanor was known for her ethereal beauty, with long flowing hair as dark as the night and eyes that sparkled like the stars above. She was deeply in love with a young ranger who worked in the park, and the two shared a love that seemed destined to last a lifetime. Unfortunately, tragedy struck one fateful winter when the ranger went missing and was never found while patrolling the park during a fierce snowstorm. Distraught and grief-stricken, Eleanor ventured out into the unforgiving wilderness in search of her beloved. However, the harsh conditions of the Rocky Mountains proved too much for her, and she succumbed to the cold. As the story goes, Eleanor's spirit continues to wander the Rocky Mountain National Park, clad in a flowing white gown, a spectral figure forever searching for her lost love. Many visitors to the park claim to have encountered the Lady in White, often describing an otherworldly presence accompanied by a soft, mournful wail that echoes through the mountainous terrain. Some believe that the Lady in White appears most frequently near Bear Lake, the site of Eleanor's former cabin. On moonlit nights, hikers and campers report glimpses of a figure in a white dress, her lengthy hair billowing in the mountain breeze. Others share eerie tales of feeling an inexplicable chill in the air or hearing faint whispers carried by the wind. The legend has woven its way into the fabric of local culture, and park rangers often share the tale with visitors, adding an extra layer of intrigue to their exploration of the Rocky Mountains. Now, skeptics dismiss the sightings as mere figments of the imagination, attributing them to the wild beauty of the landscape and the power of suggestion. However, for those who have experienced the unexplainable on the park's misty trails and quiet shores, the Lady in White remains a haunting enigma. Whether one believes the supernatural or not, the legend of the Lady in White adds a touch of mysticism to Rocky Mountain National Park, reminding all who visit that nature's beauty is not only awe-inspiring, but also shrouded in tales of love, loss, and the unexplained.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story here on Spaced Out Radio. We very much appreciate Steve coming on in to kick off Hour 3 each and every Monday through Friday night right here on Spaced Out Radio. If you want more stories just like his, go to youtube.com/Among the Missing. Make sure you hit subscribe and ring that bell. From the mysterious, from the missing to the mysterious, Travis Willier-Moostus is back with the Crypted Report. Travis Willier-Moostus, good to see you again, my friend, and thank you for filling on in tonight on the Crypted Report. How you been doing?
Oh, it's been excellent. I've been busy, and yeah, I'm glad to say that my newest book is done now. I just finished the last editing process. Now I'm just touching up on the work here and artwork, and yeah, it's been good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's been a while since you've been on this side. You've been really working with our weekend crew on After Hours that can be seen on our YouTube channel with Rob G. And you're doing very well there. How's the monster hunting heading into 2024 here?
Oh, it's been rather eventful in the sense of I've been getting a few people mentioning they've been seeing this large I don't know if they want to say it's like a fox or some say it's like a lynx running around, and then outskirts of our area and the other community, they said they seen a 10 foot long cougar running around out there. So it could be that running around, right? But so I've been looking at all the tracks and checking things out. I sent you a few pictures there. Me and my cousin went checked out a couple things last night from what he's seen, right? And it looked like but these prints didn't look like a cougar. They almost look like I want to say like a coyote wolf, which is a little bit bigger than an average coyote. You know what I mean? It's it's a mixture, a hybrid between a wolf and a coyote. So we get a lot of those here in Alberta, along with coyote dogs, and so I'm thinking it might be one of those, or like I said, it could be the lynx or the cougar that people are saying they seen 10-foot one.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you're of Cree Nation. You live in the area where your ancestors have grown up and been there for centuries, if not millennia. You're in an area where there is a lot of high strangeness that goes on, and you are somebody within your First Nations community that is also known as a monster hunter. And yes. I think that needs to be, very well said in regards to what we were talking about tonight. And that's why I actually love having you here. What is it about your area that brings out so many freaky creatures?
It's up here in the north. There's a lot of energy zones, high energy zones. Ley lines run right through the area, right near the lake here, right through the lake, and it's one of the largest lakes out here in Alberta. So, we get a lot of different animal community that come traveling on through, and this attracts a lot of the cryptids as well. And, alongside of just its uninhabited vast landscapes, which just range on out here.
Okay. So what are people I'm going to get you to turn that a bit because I'm having some bad feedback in this area. But what are people seeing in your area north of Edmonton, Alberta?
Yeah, a lot of people have been seeing a lot of different kind of goat men and a few people seen a dog man. One lady was followed home one night, and she barely made it to the party, and everybody that was there, they went out there to check it out, and they couldn't find it, but they were seeing wolf tracks and different kind of things. But she said she seen this big beast coming down the road running after her, and she barely made it back to that area or whatever. And yeah, that's a few things. And the one late time, the lady seen the goat man running running alongside the vehicle, and she still has that tail to this day. And there's a few other like I said, the Wheatigos running back ancient times, and still still a cautionary tale. And like I said, I don't like to say that word because now I'm gonna have to do a lot of smudging here and kind of clear the air, but you know what I mean. And so we get a lot of that, and we also have sightings of the large the serpent beings there, like I said, the feathered serpent there that swims through the waters, and a lot of the different kind of things that happen out here is and UFOs in the Star Nation Akakosakamana that we're connected to throughout all time. And it's just the paths of the universe here. And a lot of these things that happen are they happen when the times of the universe are aligned for it, right? And it's kind of almost like we said, we take it as a blessing, most of these things, but there are other times when, like I said, it is monstrous thing or beast that you have to defend yourself from, or are spirits, dark entities that try to latch onto people or places, and you have to fight those or get rid of them. And there's a lot of that. And
what brings these creatures to life?
It's a part of the reality universe. It's all around us. It's everything. The universe is a vast, I should say, variety of life that exists out there, but beyond and all around us is just, it's just unlimited and incomprehensible to a lot of our, our understanding just in nature and just in strangeness, right? Like, a lot of the beings though that do come out here and that do end up being out here. Some of them travel through portals. Some of them get through. Some of them are born throughout the universe, and they end up here. Others have always been here alongside, and and some are like leftover spirits from other beings that were ancient beings on our Earth and that evolved and are long gone. And some of those beings are guardians and protectors and spirit protectors and guides and alongside other like beings that just exist in the universe and beyond. And that's including the Star Nation and the Star Spirits, and that's all part of it. Like, it comes from the universe. Like, it's when they choose to be in existence, it's part of that form process that happens, and people our beings, I should say, choose that, I guess.
But how come we don't see them in, say, populated areas? You don't see or hear of dogman sightings in Vancouver or Toronto or New York or LA. You don't hear Bigfoot stories in those areas. You don't hear of the Beaver Man or things like that. Why is it only in rural areas?
Well, it depends. Like, you hear a lot of other stories about different kind of beings that lurk in those kind of structured places, that lurk deep within and around those areas and hidden places and dark places of the cities. But what I'm getting at with when it comes to our reality over here, when it comes to our beings that I'm talking about, is like, it's a connection through the high universal dimensions, and they act with the nature and the connections of the earth, and that's all part of that. Cities are designed especially different. They harbor different kind of energies and different kind of beings that are dangerous to most, I should say.
So what's lurking in the alleys of cities?
Yeah, you get a lot of different kind of lower astral entities, and that's where you get a lot of the people running around the streets that you see every day that people don't like to pay attention to, screaming about shadow people are chasing me, and all these kind of things that are lurking around, the evils that come from deep within the voids, I should say.
So it's more of spiritually aligned in cities to attack the spirits of people, whereas in the rural communities where you live or where I live, it's more about the creatures at hand that can roam around freely.
The structures of old age used to be a lot more spiritually centered and gravitated towards like a lot of the minerals and the different kind of things that went into the structures and buildings that were built of the old cities. Like, you go look at some of the old pictures from like 1801 and 1804 and stuff like that, and you see a lot of different structures and buildings that look a lot more beautiful, and they reflect that I should say quality of nature too. There's a lot of water and different kind of trees and things growing, and I don't know, you go check it out. It used to be that way, but now it's like kind of like totally opposite. It's built different to harbor different energy. Oh, my cat's just attacking my ear. But so it's like, it's a matter of like, even like I said, all the bells are gone and different kind of things that were used to eliminate dark entities and so, but I'm just saying, like, it used to be, but now they're built differently.
Blue Cruz has a question for you. Have you ever encountered any tentacle-headed inhumanoids?
Yeah. Back in July 28th, 2021, me and my astral crew friends, we actually had a huge battle with it was a giant tentacle creature that was opened up from a portal in the inner earth. This is like an astral spiritual level. Like I said, it was opened up by these tentacle beings that you're speaking of, with the heads of a tentacle like sea creature, but they wore black robes, and they had dark purple esoteric energy that flowed through their eyes and kind of like flowed like underneath their skin, like it kind of glowed. And they were very dark beings, like astral beings, and they fed off the insanity of people. And that's what they wanted. They wanted that tentacle creature's spirit energy to like put its tentacles into everyone's spirit body and throughout the whole earth, and just feed on everybody's insanity, watch the whole world go into World War III and like all these things, right? It had a big plan, but we stopped that with the help of like Nepal monks. There was like 50 of them. They're just like using these astral diamond, like it was like crystals, right? But they're just using their energy and just blasting through that crystal at this giant tentacle monster. And me and my buddy over there just like, helping them out with different kind of light orb energies. And we're able to put that, defeat that creature and send it back to the inner earth. Well, not inner earth, but it was like an inner earth portal that it was like from the lower void sea, like a dark black sea it came from. And once we shut that down, those guys, they started trying to make a run for it. They got in their little ships that are able to like fly through the earth and dimension reality. But they were trying to get away into deep space. But we're able to contact Galactic Federation, and they were already waiting for them. They just opened up a portal there, just waiting for them, and kind of blasted them out of the space. So we didn't have to worry about that happening. But that was in 2021. That was, yeah.
Sounds trippy, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like a trip. All right, I'm going to get you to turn your speaker down just a little bit, if you don't mind, Travis, because we are getting that feedback. In regards to, as we got about 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break in the bottom of the hour, in regards to what people are getting in contact with today, are you noticing a rise in ET contact, paranormal activity, cryptid activity, or is it one or the other?
It's a rise in both. Like with these, like I said, the elevations and everybody's, I should say, intuition and connection to the universe, and everybody's like awareness is growing more and then more rapidly. Even with the ET sightings, like people seeing them, that's just helping that bridge that intuition as well throughout the universe. Because the more people that see them, the more they build that, the more crafts they see, the more they get to see, they can experience more of it. Right? It comes like as a kind of like a package deal. As for like the cryptids too, like people that have been experiencing these high energy zones, like me and my buddy have been doing a little investigation for his place, and he's been sending me all sorts of kind of like spirits like coming to visit and walking through the house and orbs flying around and things. But it's part of that high energy zone that's been happening from the solar flares that been, just pelting our earth and transforming through the earth and going to all the crystals and just vibrating and sending it back all through the waves of the frequency back through us. And we're just walking around as antennas, picking it all up unknowingly. But the people that are tuning it in and really using it and focusing that intuition and they start to see these things and the beauty of all life in the universe around them. So I just figured I'd mention that.
Yeah. Okay. So do you find that more people, not only on your reservation, but more people surrounding your areas are having encounters with these creatures as well?
Oh, yes. Like, there's a lot of people that, have been experiencing it, telling me they've been seeing ships and crafts and all sorts of kind of like I said, spirit kind of like encounters and telling me about experiences in their life, and then telling me about like their missing moments of time, and like how they're, how should I say, like they think they feel like they've been like, and this is also too not only around my area, but people like, because I've been doing a lot of readings for people. I must have did over 300 readings since the beginning of the year, but people for all over the world. And they've been telling me a lot about their encounters and their experiences, and they feel like they've been being picked up. And and I'm like telling people, yeah, that happens. Like sometimes you'll just be picked up, and they'll help you out with your the current things that are going on and put you back, so you're aligned with that connection to the universe, right? And
Travis, hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We got 1/2 hour left. Travis William Moose Toos as the Crypted Report right here on Spaced Out Radio. We will be right back talking monsters right after this.
Good night.
What's going on there, buddy?
Oh, hello. Sorry. Hello.
Where'd you go?
My cat just freaking went psycho on me there. Like,
Oh, nice.
I'm like, hey, you're being bad now. You got to go back in your freaking little area over here. Get him out of my room. Anyway,
Dieter is tired lately.
You've been tired.
No, Dieter is asking if you have felt tired.
Oh, I've been, yeah. Every time I stop for a second, I end up starting to try to get into some sort of kind of meditative mode where I'm chilling out. But yeah, that's another thing too about the animals. They've been going crazy. We had a wind storm kind of run through our area like a tornado last night. It was epic. My power lost out for 4 hours. I was worried my turtle was going to freeze. Yeah, it was.
Oh man.
Well, it was more than 4 hours actually. It was 6 or 7 hours. But you've been feeling awakening through the air. Yeah, it's going to be it's all over the whole world. It's everyone. It's not just me. It's everyone.
Hi, Scrub-a-Dub-Dub. It's been a while. Good to see you. Patricia Gisele, thanks for coming on in. Where are you in BC there, Deidre? Mm-hmm. Where are you, Deidre? Oh, yes, you're in Cowichan. I remember that now. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. That's a great hoodie you got on there, man.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry, I just had to make sure I had everything set up there right. Yeah, I've just been working hard on everything here with going nuts with the art and placing it together and splicing the book together for everything, and just, that's just been my goal for the last while. Oh my God, this cat's going wild.
Let's see here. Oh, it's a kitty. Oh, very cute.
Yeah, but he wants to eat me right now, trying to bite me and everything, fight. And I don't know. Like I said, it's the energy of the animals. They've been going wild with the world, and like I said, the universe, and just universal energies as of lately. But yeah, I've been totally on streams doing live, just sitting on stream and doing card readings for people, and it's been excellent for hours on end.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it over over 300 readings and all sorts of intuition, intuitive beings that came forward for a lot of people. Like when I say spirit guides, all sorts of different kind of people. I was seeing ancestors in gold armors and different kind of people are seeing, I was getting little glimpses of past lives for them and different kind of just little visions for them. And it was really cool because I was getting a lot of feedback from them. For example, there was one dude, I was I'm getting a lot of boats for you for some reason. I don't know why I'm seeing boats. And he was yeah, I'm in boat production. I work in a boat area, a boat dock and stuff like that. I was what? And it was really good. So I was helping people out and doing this. And it's cool because it's through stream. I don't even need to see see their face or know their, I just do it through the energy kind of deal. It's kind of what happens.
We got about 1 minute here, buddy.
Yeah. Also, too, did you want me to show you a couple of these UFO pictures here that I got?
Yeah, but we're going to have to explain them for our radio audience, right?
Yeah. I'll do that as best as I can if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. Just wait till we're back on the air.
No being bad here. Come on.
All right, big thank you to Gizmo, Doofy, Jennifer ×2 for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love here. And yeah, Travis on mute. Good. All right, let's get ready to go here. Here we go, the final half hour of the Crypted Report on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Travis Willier-Moustus and the Cryptid Report here on Spaced Out Radio. Travis is a monster hunter from the Cree Nation north of Edmonton, Alberta. And thank you, Travis, for being here. Very much appreciate you coming on in and spending time with us.
I am happy to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to come out, and thank you to all the viewers for tuning in and taking the time out of your days to watch this awesome show. And yeah,
well, we should say right off the bat that if all of a sudden you hear Travis starts screaming, he's got a new kitten that is literally attacking him as we speak. And it's kind of hilarious because he's trying to control the kitten, but the kitten wants to play and wants to play hard. He's already got a few bloody knuckles from the cat scratching and biting. It's good times, isn't it?
Oh, lovely. Yeah, lovely. Just a little terror in my life, but I love them. Anyway, yeah, I have some excellent stuff to share with you and your viewers, if you don't mind there, Dave.
Yeah, break down these UFO video or these UFO photos that you have been able to bring up recently. What's happening here? Tell us the story.
Okay, so this one was a very strange kind of platform craft that was flying over the town there last summer, and it was just kind of floating on by. It was like mid-afternoon, and you could see it like in the stratosphere, this like silver, like just a platform, a square platform, but like on the bottom of the platform craft, there's like this little indent that you can see like clearly there. But I just wanted to show that again. And I also ran it through an embossing app, which brings out the I should say the real like the effects of this like physical object. It just kind of puts the background in the background and brings out these 3D objects if there's anything there, right? But I got an awesome embossing photo for that as well. I just wanted to share with the folks out there.
Sure. So what are we looking at here outside of your beautiful face?
Oh, let me just I'm gonna change this background here. Alrighty, so here is the craft as I zoom in on the picture. It is a square object, four corners, except or four round sides. I mean, four square sides, and then on the bottom there, it seems to be this round indentation on the bottom of the square, and it's just like it was just floating by midday, just kind of hanging out in the sky, just floating there, and then it continued on, like, you know, into the clouds and beyond, and I don't know if you guys see that. But it's
well,
there.
our radio audience will have trouble seeing it, but yeah, I mean, it almost looks like like you said, like a computer chip or something along those lines. You know?
Yes. And then
How high up do you think it was?
it was like right in the stratosphere here. Hold on, I got another couple other of these awesome pictures here for you, just so you can see the embossing photo. You can really get the structure of it, the square structure. You know, you see the top, and you get that little indentation here, which is just kind of funny on the bottom there, which is like a little, just like a round piece for the, I should say, for the object to have, like, you know, just like an odd platform piece. Like, I don't understand the structural value of that, but you see that though, and it's just odd, and it just throws a mystery there in the whole thing. I figured I'd show that, and yeah, I was intrigued by the whole. There we go. Hello, I'm back now. But yeah, I was intrigued by the whole thing. Like, I just wanted to show that I had that embossing photo, and I just wanted to, like, because like last time I was showing it, I didn't present that embossing part, and I wanted to show it, and I couldn't find it at that time, but I just wanted to show it now. and yeah, I had presented a what do you call it there? A UFO video of a low flying craft. Like I said, the stratosphere, a little bit around there, but it was just flying high above, right? And it looked like it was going like kind of like across the moon, heading from north to south, heading from the north, heading south. And it was like I said, a 2 minute video, 2 minute, 30-second video. It took to fly across the sky and go into the distance and disappear. And it was a, you know, straight up object, and it was very bright, like very, you know, it gave you the feeling, like when you're watching it, it gave you this sense of, yeah, okay, this is a connection to otherworldly, a gravitational field is there, or, you know, some sort of, I should say, something in the energy. When you get that.
When you are looking for UFOs, you're pretty successful at having encounters with them. Are these the same UFOs you're seeing that are taking people, or are these just more like scouts?
A lot of times I feel that the ones I am seeing are of a higher frequency or higher vibrational light. The ones that when I do encounter, they've been around like in times of high frequency zones, like a good, like when times of cell ceremony have happened, you know, like that's the ones that, like, when I've encountered with them, are they flown right in front of my face, or are in front of all of us, but just hidden in the frequency kind of deal. But they have massive ships just flying right there in front of us. And but like I said, the ones that have been picking up people, yeah, there's a lot of these beings that have been, like I said, sent to help with certain ET connection, people that have the ancestral connections, or are just like I said, the universal frequency to be one of these beings, or to, like I said, to awaken through that and be connected. I mean, through one of these beings, and it's like I said, it's a process for most out there. Some people, give me a second here. This cat's calling me.
Yeah. Hey, it's a kitty. Kitty demands attention. Kitty totally demands attention right now. You know, but a lot of these UFOs are, you know, like I asked you in regards to whether or not they are the ones taking people or maybe scouting. I mean, how do we tell the difference?
Like I said, the ones that we've encountered have been people, like, mainly healers. They'll go around and help people and healing people. Energies will come down from their ships, or just people will be portaled up to them and they don't realize it, and portaled back through the frequencies. as for like the dark, like for if they're dark ones, usually people don't come back at all. Like, you know, it's kind of like oh my gosh, oh, this kid just real flash like that. Anyway, but yeah, so he's loving these. I'm gonna put these away here, but yeah, so it's as for like the light beings, as for us, like people who are connecting with them through like astral or meditation. A great way to do that is like when you're connecting through your frequency and the chakras or love connection through the universe. I should say the galactic core of the universe, and that creative energy. It's like, how should I say? You will be normally you will find and connect with these higher frequency beings, but people that I should say that are very closed off or like I said, gravitating with negative stuff. Those are the kind of beings they'll get negative ones coming for them, or if they're worried, or if they're or like I should say, not worried, but like are they creating a fear or something? Like they'll kind of like manifest that for themselves, like into them or around them. You know what I mean? Like they'll I should say like it will generate that energy to be for them, right? Like it will come for them, kind of deal. And yeah, especially, but for the cryptids and the other like different beings, and you're out in those zones, at high energy zones, it's an open game, because then you're in there and you must bring in your own kind of like your own levels of protection or connection to the world to keep you grounded in the universe, right? Like it's like because then you're in this whole other frequency zone that you're kind of entering, and they're running like freely in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. The idea behind the cryptids, though, I mean, a lot of people are used to Dogman. They're used to Sasquatch more so. Have you had any encounters with the green people or the little people lately?
The little people are I haven't visited the forest like to where the areas like are like I haven't visited them deep enough right now because of the winter. But usually during the summer, I go out there and I pay them a visit, or I'll go and like I said, leave some spiritual like offerings out there for them, or like I said, or I'll say prayers for them. I always consider them to be like always out there, and like they're always out there, like living, and not only the little people, but like you said, the kind of like they're like little forest kind of folk. They have little pointy noses and ears, and some are brown, and like you said, some are green, and they run around and wear like clothes wear like fur like clothes, and they have like little their own little societies kind of deal in the ground and the hills, and they use rabbits to dig the tunnels and stuff. But yeah, it's like there's all these sorts of kind of things, right? But are the tree peekers, which are just like next to tree beings, and they just walk around, and they can even like take forms like as stumps and just like totally disappear from people if they're trying to chase after them or look for them. It's or they'll just start walking.
All right, I have to ask, what are the tree peekers?
Yeah, the tree peekers, like I said, they're like spirit, they're like elemental like spirits, and they take form as these like they're tree form beings, and they're like little small, like 5'4", 5'3", 5'4" is like the top height, but they're small little guys, and they just kind of peek around from trees, but they take forms of stumps, and they walk the forest floor. Like I said, and they connect to the root systems, and they just kind of like nestle into these areas, and they stay for like thousands of years. But people have seen them, and they run around, or they'll get them in pictures, looking at them and stuff when they're out in the woods.
What do they look like?
Like they'll have like little bark faces, and like twigs coming out of their head. Some of them have flat like broken like flat heads there, just to make it look like stumps, and others are just like others, like I said, they're like they camouflage themselves. They take forms of trees, and sometimes it'll be like little trees themselves running around, like little thin guys. And yeah, there's like there's some of that going on out there with elemental spirits, especially with like especially with like the medicines too, like in native world, like especially if you have bad intentions. This is a teaching right there. So it's like bad intentions, and you go into if you have bad intentions, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna pick all this medicine just to sell it, or like make profit or anything like that. Most of the time you won't find anything. Like the medicine will know that and hide itself, and then or like but if you're out there with good intentions, like you'll find these things with ease, and like it'll be like, it will just be presenting itself kind of deal, like wanting to be found. Like, so like there's all these kind of like and they know, like it knows through the energy, the universe, right? It's like it's all connected, and that's like the that's like kind of like the same thing like with just you have intentions, right? Your intentions with you meeting the ETs, you keep it on a positive higher frequency, and you explore these areas of inner I should say, like I said, where you're in these visions, or where you're taken in some of these places, like during meditations or astral travel, and just exploring some of that peace or the visions of that, and allowing that to bring forward some of these experiences and connections, and or like I said, that energy of those zones when you see them, that builds part of that. Some of these some of the ET beings, like it's not all ET beings, some of the planets and stars call for you out there, folks. You know what I mean? Like there's like a lot of different kind of like I said, levels of energy and connections to be made out there. I just wanted to say that.
We've got about 5.5 minutes left to go tonight on the Cryptid Report before we have to say goodnight to tonight's show. Travis William-Mustus is our guest. What's the last real close encounter that you've had with a creature? Tell us a story.
The last encounter I've had with a creature was well, it was not it was not of this like whole like I should say, it wasn't really of this area. It was like, I mean, like of this frequency, like in our reality here. It was kind of like more or less like on a spiritual level. It took a lot of prayer, and it was like I want to say it was like, it looked like a dark mass of like a mass being like that looked like black shadowy fog that was just like how should I say, it was like haunting a house. So I was out there praying in the lawn, and I had to like really I had to like smudge and do offerings to get rid of that being, and it was like a really like I said, it was like not offerings too, but offerings to the light of the sun, because I got to pray with the sun and all these like different kind of things, and it just like I said, I just see it just flowing out of the house, just like leaving and just dissipating in the rays of the light. And yeah, but it was just like, it took a lot of prayer, but it was like it was a dark entity. Yeah. And the person that I had got rid of it for has been like better ever since. Like they've been okay and haven't dealt with anything like anything on that negative note, or I should say like haven't had anything going on in their houses or anything like that anymore.
Is it more right now? Are we seeing, because it is winter, a lot more hauntings taking place? And if so, what are the hauntings like? Is it grandpa on the rocking chair still, or is it something maybe a little bit more sinister?
For a few folks, like they've been they've been saying they've been getting chilling feelings, like and like I said, in the areas, like they said they've been getting like they've been seeing kind of like a wolf, or like a lion, like not a lion, but like a giant cougar or lynx, like running by, and but it wasn't like it looked like it was like standing right at their, like on their porch or right there looking at them, and then they open the door and it's gone. And there's been other people saying about the these hearing these things in the woods and cracking in the wood trees and whatnot, but like but as for like hauntings, yeah, no, it's been like spirits and spirit orbs. I think my buddy, he sent me an excellent picture there of this. It looked like one of the family members standing in the back there. Like it was a spirit. You can see it. It's clearly a spirit person, but they're holding a cat with them. Yeah, the kitty.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. Do you get a lot more of the darker sides tracking around at this time of year with the darker days, even though it is getting lighter every day?
I'd say like fall time and like this time of year it's kind of easier for them to kind of get into the minds of folks, because it's just like you said, it kind of just a lowering of like it's everybody spending like a lot of time in the dark, so it's just kind of like a lowering of how should I say it, of good, like, yeah, the good vibes. It just lowers the good vibes, so then people end up attracting some of these negative beings, or it's easier to flow around, like you said. But the hauntings and everything, like, I think it's all being picked up from the solar flares and everything going on around the earth at this time right now. It's just a time of breaking old cycles and new beginnings, and that's a beautiful part about it. And this whole UFO thing is a beautiful awakening for a lot of people, and I'm happy that it's happening for the universe, and it's a part of our connection to the universe. It's going to be a big thing for everyone out there, I say.
Yeah. Travis, we got about 90 seconds, 2 minutes to go here. What is something that people can protect themselves with if they think they have monsters or cryptids around?
All right. All right. So you have your crystals, your energy, your energy zones. I've like, the sages work, with the light attitudes, let the light in during the day into your house kind of deal, like open up the windows and let the sunshine in kind of deal. And when you smudge too, or sage, open up the window so it can carry out the energy. Chimes, and like I said, good tomes, or like even those singing bowls, and rattles I've seen people use, or even like those little even the little triangle things, those little ding, yeah, those things work too, because they're frequency, right? Just higher frequencies. So all that works great. If you're feeling like unclean and your energy feels rough, take a light shower, just to wash that off, or wash your hands. If you feel like your energy feels a little weird, you picked up something weird or something, wash your hands with some water. Yeah, just like.
Well, you know what? It's always a pleasure. But like, have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. It is always a good time to catch up and chat with you, and we will direct our audience to head on over to Amazon and every other online book outlet. Look for Travis W. Moosetoos, Moostoos, Moosetoos, and pick up his books today. And if you want to learn more about the monsters he's hunting down, just hit him up on Facebook. He's right there. He's all over the place, and he's always looking good. We just need him to grow a mustache. It'll be so much better. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. There we be. There we be. All right. Get you off mute here. Oh, you're off mute. Good. It's good times, man.
Yeah. I have a lot of different things planned for this next little while coming up after I'm, done with this book here. So we'll see how much of it actually gets done. But high hopes for everything and all the research and investigations out there, and to all the endeavors, right, coming the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Thanks for inviting me, by the way. I was like, I wasn't expecting anything. I was like, I was just like so happy that I was done the book, and it's been a process, right? So,
oh, we love you, man. We love you, and we appreciate you do that. Maybe we'll do it again next Tuesday. How about that?
Hey, I'm down for that. I'm down. Just let me know. I'll see. Yeah, I'm available for Tuesday for sure.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
we'll let you go now, and we'll talk soon. Okay. All right, Travis William Moostus. Yay, Travis. And a big thank you tonight to Gizmo, Doof, Jennifer × 2 for the super chats. I'm going to cut out of here. I got to go get this editing done and get my my CPAP machine going for night number 2. Already felt better a little bit today. Already felt better. And so I'm pretty happy about that. So let me go get my job done. You guys, tomorrow night, we will have, who do we got on? We got Sean Burris on Extreme Paranormal Stories. So make sure you check it on out with us, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Much love. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.